Chapter 580. Who? Under the influence of Lu Xiaoyan's state of ice, the entire wind cloud platform was covered in frost. The cold was bone-chilling. A cold wind blew everywhere like knives. The horrifying chill made several of the cultivators in the spectator stands feel it even from a distance. Clearly, Lu Xiaoyan's comprehension of the state of ice had already reached a level that his peers could only look up to. Across Lu Xiaoyan, Chu Qiaoyan held a 1-meter-long sword. The sword gave off a dazzling golden light. His entire body gave off a faint golden glow, expelling the boundless chill without holding back. The crowd could clearly see strands of white fog drifting around Chu Qiaoyan, reflecting a 7-colored light. That was the state of ice trying to penetrate into him. However, the strong state of light blocked it, not having any effect. Chu Qiaoyan casually sent out a sword flower. As the golden light scattered, it shot out in all directions, dazzling everyone. Unknowingly, the state of ice weakened significantly. Since you are not attacking, then I will. Before everyone's astonished gazes, Xiaoqin faced Lu Xiaoyan, who was ranked in the top 10 of the previous 5-nation youth competition, a rare genius of the drifting snow sword sect. The newcomer, Chu Qiaoyan, gave up on defending and directly charged forward, charging over with a dazzling sword light. Lu Xiaoyan said coldly, "Ignorant. Do you really think that I cannot do anything to you? Since you are seeking death, I will grant you your wish." Lu Xiaoyan was not boasting. This was because he did not care about anyone in his group. In his eyes, aside from Xianyuan Zhantian, no one was worthy of him going all out. Before Lu Xiaoyan met Xianyuan Zhantian, he had to preserve some of his strength. Otherwise, when he faced Xianyuan Zhantian, or the scions of the 8 noble clans, he would not have any trump cards left. He, Lu Xiaoyan, did not just set his sights on the top 10. Lu Xiaoyan shouted ferociously and raised his strength to 60%. His aura instantly soared by 10%. As the cold wind blew, snowflakes drifted down from the sky. Pushing off the air with the tip of his foot, he gathered the surrounding cold qi onto the tip of his sword. The sword turned transparent, looking like it was carved out of 1,000-year-old ice. Chu Qiaoyan's body gave off a bright light. His clothes and accessories were golden, and his hair contained a golden light that fluttered in the air. Bang! The dazzling golden longsword and the frost-covered longsword carried 2 completely different concepts. In the blink of an eye, they collided violently in the air. The two of them displayed their exquisite swordsmanship and quickly exchanged blows in mid-air. In the span of a few breaths, each of them had unleashed dozens of sword strikes. A cold wind blew, and a dazzling light shone. 2 strands of sword qi, one white and one yellow, flew everywhere. The sword qi was so condensed that it was shocking. Each strand of sword qi seemed to be material. From afar, it seemed as if it had sliced space into countless pieces. Separated by the wind cloud barrier, everyone could only see 2 figures clashing in a blurry space. The sound of metal clashing resounded without end. This is a competition of sword techniques, sword intent, and states. Unexpectedly, the 2 of them are able to take care of so many important points with every move. Indeed, as long as one is slightly weaker than the other party, they will immediately lose. Sword techniques, sword intent, and states. Only by taking care of all 3 can one become a true expert of the sword Dao. However, based on Lu Xiaoyan's appearance, it seems like he has not used his full power yet. He probably wants to keep some trump cards to deal with Xianyuan Zhantian. The cultivators watching discussed the fight on the wind cloud platform in soft voices. Several swordsmen did not even blink. A battle between 2 geniuses of the sword Dao was a rare sight. If one could comprehend something from it, it would definitely be beneficial to their sword Dao. The 2 of them clashed. Cold ice and boundless light exploded. When the ice refracted the golden light, it turned into a 7-colored light: scarlet, orange, yellow, green, azure, blue, and purple. The wind cloud platform was filled with many colors, like a paradise in the mortal world. Under the 7-colored light, Lu Xiaoyan and Chu Qiaoyan looked like immortals flying down from the heavens. The 7-colored shockwave from the explosion forced the 2 of them back a few steps. Lu Xiaoyan forcefully stopped his retreat and stopped before Chu Qiaoyan. Rage of 1,000 soldiers. Seizing the initiative, Lu Xiaoyan did not hesitate to execute his killing move. His sword danced around, and suddenly, furious roars resounded. It was like thousands of emotionless swordsmen roared in unison, forming a boundless aura behind Lu Xiaoyan. His sword drew on this aura, and an overwhelming sword intent surged towards Lu Xiaoyan. The cold wind did not howl, and the snowflakes did not dance. There was only this unparalleled sword strike that carried the surging rage of thousands of swordsmen. Even when Lu Xiaoyan saw his opponent execute his killing move, he did not forcefully stop his body. Instead, he drifted far away with the shock wave. Chu Qiaoyan smiled faintly and gently released his right hand. His sword pointed at Lu Xiaoyan as it floated quietly in front of him. Xiao Chen stretched his right hand upwards, and it seemed like he was touching something calm in the air. While it looked slow, it was actually extremely fast. Ka, ka, ka. As Xiao Chen's hand moved, golden sword images appeared in an orderly fashion. Every time a golden sword image appeared, an incomparably melodious sword hum resounded. The sound was melodious and pleasing to the ear. A righteous qi rushed into the clouds together with the moving sword sound, stirring up the thick dark clouds in the sky, and causing them to churn endlessly. When the circle formed by Xiao Chen's hand, a circle of sword images formed with the sword hovering before Chu Qiaoyan's chest as the center instantly formed. Boom, ding, ding, dang, dang. The melodious sword hum merged together, and a strong righteous qi tore through the clouds. A golden pillar of light descended from the sky, piercing through the wind cloud barrier, and encasing Chu Qiaoyan. Bathed in the golden light, Chu Qiaoyan's aura instantly soared to its peak. The light was dazzling and eye-catching. It clashed intensely with Lu Xiaoyan's unparalleled aura in the air. Chu Qiaoyan did not give way. He even seemed to have the upper hand. Pa! Chu Qiaoyan smashed his palm on the sword hilt in the circle of swords. Strangely, the crowd saw the wind cloud platform tremble a little. A resplendent golden sword light shot towards Lu Xiaoyan, who was flying over, along with the force of this palm strike. The golden light contained a vast righteous qi. Lu Xiaoyan paled slightly. His overwhelming sword intent, formed by the roars of thousands of iron-faced swordsmen, actually showed a small opening before this golden light. Without giving Lu Xiaoyan a chance to react or make up for it, the sword in the circle of swords shot over. Kassier. Kassier. The originally negligible opening quickly expanded under the might of this sword. The overwhelming sword intent finally shattered. Helpless, Lu Xiaoyan could only scatter the state and aura of this unparalleled sword. Then he sheathed his sword and turned around to block the incoming sword. Dang. Lu Xiaoyan vomited a mouthful of blood. The force of this sword knocked him back, and he fell heavily to the ground. Damn it. If 60% of my strength cannot deal with you, then 70%. Lu Xiaoyan, who was on the ground, roared ferociously in his heart. His aura increased by another 10%. Then he soared into the air and charged at Chu Qiaoyan. Bathed in the golden light, Chu Qiaoyan smiled faintly as he looked at the incoming Lu Xiaoyan. He gently waved his hand, and the circle of light formed by the golden sword images opened. Dozens of golden swords of light sent out a sword storm. Bang, 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 bang. Amidst the boundless storm and the thousands of sword images, Lu Xiaoyan's sword danced around. He only managed to block for a moment before the storm covered him in wounds and knocked him back. If 70% of my strength is not enough, then 80%. At this moment, Lu Xiaoyan's expression was extremely unsightly. His originally elegant aura was gone. Xiao Chen gently waved his right hand, and the sword in the air returned to his grasp. Grasping the sword in his hand tightly, Chu Qiaoyan felt the strong energy in the sword. He did not move a single step in the air as sword lights danced around. Instantly, thousands of figures appeared around the golden pillar of light, holding swords in their hands. These figures danced around, and an overwhelming sword intent spread out without any fear. Thousands of sword intents spread out at the same time. It was simply too strong. The wind cloud platform below the pillar of light could no longer withstand it. A crack appeared, and dragon qi leaked out. Immediately, a resonant dragon roar resounded. When the dragon roar resounded, Chu Qiaoyan held his sword and paused for a moment. The thousands of figures immediately vanished, and all the sword intent gathered on his sword. Bang! When Xiao Chen swung his sword, the overwhelming sword intent formed by thousands of figures surged out. Lu Xiaoyan, who had just gotten up, was knocked back again. If 80% of my strength is not enough, then 90%. Lu Xiaoyan roared ferociously. He had no intention of admitting defeat. He pushed off the ground and charged over with an even stronger aura. Chu Chaoyan's expression was extremely calm. He held his sword above his head with both hands, and hacked down ferociously as he watched Lu Xiaoyan get up. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The golden light descending from the sky actually followed Chu Chaoyan's attack and quickly descended, turning into a huge strand of sword qi. The sword light was like a pillar as it descended on Lu Xiaoyan's head. Lu Xiaoyan resisted for a moment before vomiting a mouthful of blood and falling to the ground again. If 90% of my strength is not enough, then 100%. At this moment, Lu Xiaoyan had already gone completely berserk. 1 sword strike, 2 sword strikes, 3 sword strikes, 4 sword strikes. However, this time, Chu Chaoyan did not give Lu Xiaoyan a chance to get up. This was beyond Lu Xiaoyan's expectations. Chu Chaoyan took the initiative to attack. His figure flickered, and his sword sent out 4 sword lights. The sword qi injured Lu Xiaoyan's knees and wrists, causing blood to flow out. Pa! Lu Xiaoyan fell to the ground. With his knees and wrists injured, he could not even stand up. As he lay on the ground, he looked up at Chu Chaoyan with extreme dissatisfaction. Lu Xiaoyan's reputation had been tarnished, and he had lost all his face. This was a tragic sight to behold. Ruthless. Truly ruthless. When the hundreds of thousands of spectators saw this scene, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Their hearts tightened. With his knees injured, he could not stand up. With his wrists injured, he could not even push himself off the ground. After Lu Xiaoyan fell to the ground, he could no longer get up on his own. Not only could he not get up, but he could not even move. He was a proud disciple of the Drifting Snow Sword sect, a giant of the younger generation. Unexpectedly, the 10th-ranked super genius of the previous 5-nation youth competition ended up in such a state. Chu Chaoyan was too ruthless. Furthermore, when Chu Chaoyan saw Lu Xiaoyan's expression of extreme dissatisfaction, he did not feel uncomfortable at all. He remained as calm as before. Chapter 581. Xiao Chen did not feel any excitement from defeating a super genius. He also did not feel that there was anything wrong with his attack. In his eyes, these super sects, peerless geniuses, and all the other halos were not worth mentioning. They were just SOSO. As Xiao Chen looked at Lu Xiaoyan on the ground, he did not feel that Chu Chaoyan's attack was ruthless or not. It was just the most suitable move at that moment. Every time Lu Xiaoyan was knocked back, his strength would increase by 10%. If this continued, no one knew when it would end. Perhaps the next time, Lu Xiaoyan would be able to truly threaten Chu Chaoyan. The victor of this match would be someone else. Crippling Lu Xiaoyan's limbs was undoubtedly the best solution. Furthermore, by then, Lu Xiaoyan would have already formed a habit. Every time Chu Chaoyan gave Lu Xiaoyan a chance to get up, he did not attack when Lu Xiaoyan got up. This gave Lu Xiaoyan the impression that Xiao Chen would not attack him while he was getting up. Perhaps Lu Xiaoyan did not have the ability to do so, and did not dare to fight in close combat. Who knew Chu Chaoyan did not only have the ability to do so, but he also had the courage to do so. With such courage, the right opportunity, and the right way to make a move, everything seemed to make sense. The Sun Moon Sword sect's disciple, who was also a genius of the Sword Dao, looked up angrily at the extremely dissatisfied Lu Xiaoyan. He could not help but sigh in his heart. He muttered to himself, "I have to remember this lesson. I cannot let my guard down at any time. I cannot underestimate any newcomer." Li Daoxian, the scion of the 8 noble clans famous for his spear techniques, smiled coldly and said, "If he had used his full strength earlier, he would not have ended up like this." Lu Xiaoyan overestimated himself. Bai Qi, who was not far away, felt the same way. In the end, Lu Xiaoyan completely lost his composure. He could not even deal with the battle before him, yet he still wanted to save some strength to deal with Xianyuan Zhantian. Sima Lingxian, who was in the seated spectator stands, could not even be bothered to look at Lu Xiaoyan. He spat out coldly, "Trash." After the referee announced the result of the match, the drifting snow sword sex people immediately came and carried Lu Xiaoyan off. When the Misty Sword sect master saw Chu Qiaoyan slowly walking over, he smiled like a flower. Then he looked at the heavenly saber pavilion's Jiangqi complacently. The surrounding elders were all very happy. Even Lu Xiaoyan, who was in the top 10, had been defeated by Chu Qiaoyan. Did that not mean that the sword sect had the qualifications to fight for the top 10 as well? How incredible! Unexpectedly, two dark horses appeared in the tiny Great Qin nation. First, Xiao Chen defeated Gong Yangyu. Now, Chu Qiaoyan defeated Lu Xiaoyan. This is too much of a coincidence. That Lu Xiaoyan is really depressed. He was filled with lofty aspirations and wanted to challenge Xianyuan Zhantian. Who knew, before he could even meet Xianyuan Zhantian, he would be defeated? The most important thing is that Lu Xiaoyan lost so miserably, losing all his face. He could not even stand up and was beaten up like a dead dog. The new talents of this round are indeed too strong. The age of geniuses is indeed full of heroes. First there is Xianyuan Zhantian, who dared to compete with Sima Lingxian. Then there is Xiao Chun and Chu Qiaoyan. Now there is Lin Fei and the others. After all, this was just a competition. The victor was king. Chu Qiaoyan won fairly and openly. No one would slander him. They only sighed. The speed at which the new talents of the younger generation rose was too fast. In this age of geniuses, several veteran experts would lose their reputation if they were not careful. They would be used as a stepping stone for the newcomers, allowing them to soar into the sky and become famous everywhere. Stars twinkled, heroes emerged. If the competition was not cruel and intense, it would not be the age of geniuses. The competition continued. After that, the scions of the 8 noble clans, aside from Sima Lingxian, went up one by one. This gave the crowd a taste of Emperor Wu's elegance. The scion of the Li clan, who was famous for his spear techniques, was like a flood dragon emerging from the sea. As he brandished his spear, it sounded like a berserk dragon roaring. Just the vast state of water made everyone feel boundless. The scion of the Wang clan, Wang Quan, who was good at using the whip, wielded a black whip. It moved unpredictably, changing in many ways. It was both hard and soft. With just one whip, it left a deep mark on the wind cloud platform. There was also the scion of the Baiming clan, Baiming Shang, who was unrivaled in palm techniques. Even the evil moon pavilions by Zhan could not last more than 5 moves against him. After they went up, they were all unrivaled. In this second round of elimination, they did not meet any opponents who could defeat them. The strength that they displayed suppressed the limelight of the 2 new talents, Xiao Chun and Chu Qiaoyan. However, the most eye-catching was the Bai clan's Bai Qi. The exquisite saber techniques that he displayed could be described as superb. As the runner-up of the previous 5-nation youth competition, one could clearly feel that his aura was stronger than the other scions of the noble clans. The only regret was that while all the cultivators wanted to see the true appearance of the 4-season saber technique, no one had been able to force Bai Qi to such a degree. This also proved Bai Qi's strength. Even without using the 4-season saber technique, he was already so strong. If he used the 4-season saber technique, he would be even more powerful. Many experts went up one by one. There were all sorts of exciting battles and wondrous martial techniques. This broadened the horizons of several cultivators, making this trip worthwhile. However, there were also people who stood out from the crowd. Their fame spread far and wide. Furthermore, they kept on winning, gaining even more attention than the scions. Naturally, that person was Kim Tae-ho. Along the way, this fellow relied on his coffin lid and all sorts of shameless moves. Unexpectedly, he managed to obtain consecutive victories as a mere peak superior grade martial king. Xiao Chen became an anomaly in this 5-nation youth competition, surprising everyone. That coffin lid also caused the dissatisfaction of several participants. They felt that it was an offensive secret treasure. In the end, the city lord personally came out to inspect it and verified that it was not an offensive secret treasure. Only then did the crowd calm down. Later on, when Xiao Chen met with scions that he clearly could not defeat, Fatso laughed loudly and waved his hand, choosing to forfeit. This made several participants who wanted to see him get beaten up extremely angry. They curse Fatso for being shameless. For now, no matter how shameless Fatso was, there was another match on the Wind Cloud platform that everyone had been anticipating for a long time. The match between Yu Chenxi and Nangong Ziyue was finally about to begin. In an instant, all the gazes in the spectator stands focused on the dueling ring for Group 7, watching the two valiant and formidable-looking girls. The duels in the other dueling rings were much dimmer. Even the matches of the Scions did not attract much attention. The reason for this was because the two girls in the dueling ring were simply too dazzling. Aside from their outstanding strength, they were also very beautiful. That was why they attracted everyone's attention. In this brilliant five-nation youth competition, it was very rare to see a girl. Since ancient times, people had always believed that fighting was a matter for men. However, Yu Chenxi and Nangong Ziyue overturned this view. Women were not inferior to men. Even several of the male participants could not compare to them. They could only chase after the two of them from afar. These two women both cultivated fist techniques, both had peerlessly beautiful appearances, and both were shockingly talented. Everyone was very curious about who was stronger and who was weaker. The Haotian sex Yu Chenxi was only ranked within the top 30 in the previous five-nation youth competition. However, he rose up strongly in this five-nation youth competition. In the intense preliminaries, Yu Chenxi had pushed out the Nangong noble clan's Nangong Ziyue and obtained the seated spot, catching everyone's attention. Given Nangong Ziyue's pride as a noble clan disciple, she would definitely not let such a thing happen. She would definitely think of a way to reclaim the glory that belonged to her. Nangong Ziyue and Yu Chenxi would definitely have to fight. Now the two of them finally stood together on the Wind Cloud platform. In a corner of the arena, Nangong Ziyue looked at the graceful and beautiful Yu Chenxi. She said calmly, "Bring out your full strength. Otherwise you will lose very quickly. I did not even bring out half of my strength in the preliminaries." Yu Chenxi smiled gently and retorted, "That will depend on whether you have the ability or not. Should I tell you that I did not even bring out 40% of my strength?" There was no point in saying anything more. Naturally, a verbal exchange would not determine who was the true victor. Fight! Nangong Ziyue did not say anything. After she assumed the stance of the immortal mountains and rivers fist, she immediately flew towards Yu Chenxi. As Nangong Ziyue moved, the sound of flowing water could be heard. The mountains around her rose and fell, layered over each other. In the blink of an eye, she materialized the power of mountains and rivers as she punched. When Nangong Ziyue punched, the mountains did not move and the water did not flow. The power of mountains and rivers gathered on her fist. Combined with her essence, she punched the air and the vast wind cloud platform trembled. The sound of Nangong Ziyue's fist was like thunder, shaking the surroundings. Yu Chenxi took a step forward with his right foot and clenched his right fist tightly. He had a cautious expression on his pretty face. Clearly, he did not dare to underestimate this punch. However, Yu Chenxi did not show any fear. When he faced this punch that caused even space to tremble, he sent out a punch as well. The instant the two fists clashed, Nangong Ziyue's power of mountains and rivers pressed over without holding anything back. In that instant, the mountains rose and fell, and the water flowed rapidly. A boundless power surged over. Explode! With a shout, Yu Chenxi's slightly sunken body suddenly stood up. A dazzling light burst out from his fist. That light was resplendent and dazzling, like the morning sun breaking through the darkness of dawn. The light spread far and wide, illuminating the mountains and rivers for thousands of kilometers. Layers upon layers of mountain peaks were instantly covered in golden light. Even the rapidly flowing water was sparkling under the light. When Bai Mingshang, who had doubted Yu Chenxi's strength earlier, saw this scene, he was somewhat astonished. He said, "What boldness! Others break this state of mountains and rivers with a single point. This Yu Chenxi actually wants to destroy the entire state of mountains and rivers in one breath, thoroughly defeating Nangong Ziyue." Bang! Bang! The two boundless punches clashed intensely at this moment. The entire wind cloud platform trembled uncontrollably. The surrounding wind cloud barrier rippled continuously, neutralizing the impact of the shock waves. One side used the power of mountains and rivers, while the other used the power of the rising sun. Neither was an ordinary state. There were differences in power as well. For example, one person used the power of a river, while the other used the power of an ocean. It was clear whose state was stronger. However, the larger the state, the harder it was to grasp it perfectly. The harder it was to control it, the more openings there would be. It was a great test of a cultivator's talent. Chapter 582. Without sufficient talent and strength to control the vast ocean, one might not even be able to deal with a cultivator who used a small pool. This was because other people's states were perfect, but one state was full of flaws. If one clashed head-on, one state would immediately crumble. Yu Chenxi and Nangong Ziyue were clearly super geniuses. Their states were grand and imposing. However, they were very familiar with controlling them. There were no obvious flaws. Light exploded, mountains moved up and down, and waves roared ferociously. Soon the two exchanged hundreds of moves. The huge energy fluctuations caused cracks to appear on the wind cloud platform, leaking out strands of dragon qi. Every punch of Nangong Ziyue's carried the momentum of the entire state of mountains and rivers. When she punched, it was like an entire mountain range pressing down. Yu Chenxi did not back down at all. She executed the morning sun incantation to its limits. Clouds and mist spread out. Every punch gave off a bright light, knocking back the mountains pressing over. The strong state of clouds and state of light complemented each other. When combined with the morning sun fist, it was boundlessly ferocious, not losing to the other party's state of mountains and rivers. When the cultivators in the spectator stands saw this, they sighed in admiration. Unexpectedly, the strength that these two pretty and charming girls could erupt with was so strong. That kind of shocking strength made many male cultivators sigh in admiration. This is too horrifying. Just one punch is already so strong. I'm afraid I can only receive 3 punches at most. Haha. Keep bragging. If you really use your fist to receive them, I guarantee that you will not even be able to receive half a punch. Those are all great states. That's right. In terms of strength, the mountains and rivers are immortal, and the morning sun breaks. They are sufficient to rank in the top 5 of all the participants. As the crowd discussed, the competition on the platform became even more intense. Dragon qi spread out, and dragon roars resounded without end. Yu Chenxi had already turned the situation around, taking the initiative. As the morning sun shone down, a rainbow bridge appeared in the sky. She stood on the rainbow bridge, moving gracefully like a fairy from the heavens. Clouds lingered behind her. When she punched out, there would always be a light breaking through the clouds. Golden fist winds rained down on Nangong Ziyue, who was on the ground. Walala! The water flowed without a trace, and the mountains and rivers flowed leisurely for thousands of kilometers. Nangong Ziyue's tight purple robes could not hide her exquisite figure as she walked among the mountains and rivers. Looking at the lush green scenery of the mountains, listening to the graceful murmur of the flowing water, walking between the mountains and rivers, one's heart was as calm as still water, and the fist peak also became reserved. The golden light that descended from the sky shattered one by one. Specks of light fell and disappeared along with the flowing water. But this momentary silence was not for the sake of eternal silence, but for the sake of a momentary eruption. At that time, the mountains would dance, the rivers would roar, and the mountains and rivers would remain immortal for all eternity. After another 100 moves, Nangong Ziyue shouted ferociously. The calm flowing water and the peaceful mountains suddenly moved. Bang, bang, bang. The flowing water roared, and pillars of water shot into the sky. The mountains danced, shaking the heavens and the earth, and the universe was overturned. Carrying this boundless aura, Nangong Ziyue soared into the sky amidst the mysterious phenomenon of the water pillars filling the sky. Then, she flew towards Yu Chenxi, who was shrouded in clouds on the heavenly bridge. Kazi. Before Nangong Ziyue arrived, before the fist wind arrived, her aura already shattered the 7-colored bridge in the sky, turning it into beams of multicolored light that scattered down. One punch as a mountain, one punch as a river. The mountains and rivers for thousands of kilometers will remain immortal for all eternity. The seas and the surroundings will exist for me alone. Nangong Ziyue's tyrannical aura that had flashed in the past appeared again, looking proud and arrogant. Amid the clouds, Yuchensi smiled gently. He completely activated the morning sun incantation, which had been raised to the 13th layer by the daybreak flower. Xiao. In that instant, the entire sky suddenly turned dark. Night fell, and the surging darkness was boundless. At this moment, time seemed to slow down. Every move of Nangong Ziyue's extremely fast punch became very clear to the eyes of the crowd. After some time, perhaps it was an instant, perhaps it was 100 years, the morning sun leaped up from the east. In an instant, it gave off a bright light, and the entire world turned bright again. In contrast to the dark night, the morning sun appeared even more dazzling, boundlessly resplendent. The state of the morning sun breaking. Only after experiencing true darkness and rising from the ashes could the state of the morning sun become perfect and flawless. Only then could it shine bright light over thousands of kilometers of mountains and rivers. Under the fiery red morning sun, the instant the final trace of darkness was torn apart, the elegant Yuchensi clashed with Nangong Ziyue's immortal mountains and rivers fist. Boom, boom, boom. The instant the fists clashed, the tall mountains behind Nangong Ziyue collapsed. The never-ending flowing water also formed a whirlpool with this punch, completely stopping. The mountains shattered, the water broke, and the mountains and rivers came to an end. Nangong Ziyue vomited a mouthful of blood. Her tyrannical aura that looked proud and arrogant vanished under the illumination of the morning sun. Only now did Nangong Ziyue reveal the frailty of a little girl. She fell to the ground like a willow catkin. Dragon chi spread across the vast wind cloud platform, and dragon roars resounded without end. Although the morning sun in the sky had already dimmed significantly, it still rose proudly, shining its light in all directions. Yuchensi gently waved his hand, and the dim morning sun behind him immediately scattered. Then he wiped the blood from the corner of his lips and slowly floated down. The cracks on the wind cloud platform on the ground slowly healed. As the dragon chi dissipated, the dragon roars also slowly disappeared. The pale Nangong Ziyue looked at Yuchensi and said softly, "You won. It is indeed not a coincidence that you managed to snatch away my seated spot. Can I ask, how much of your strength did you bring out?" Nangong Ziyue's question was clearly the question of several people. The other scions of the 8 noble clans all perked up their ears and looked over. Xiao Chun had defeated Nangong Ziyue. The 8 noble clans' history of monopolizing the top 8 spots of the 5-nation youth competition would be broken. The strength that Yuchensi displayed was already a threat to them. After all, Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan had only defeated the disciples of the 10 great sections. However, Yuchensi had defeated Nangong Ziyue. In terms of results, Yuchensi was better than Xiao Chun and Chu Chaoyan. Hence he attracted more attention. Yuchensi was not pretentious. She did not have any grudges with Nangong Ziyue. Furthermore, they were both female cultivators. They both admired each other's strength, so she directly told Nangong Ziyue. However, Yuchensi used her essence and projected her voice. She only told Nangong Ziyue, disappointing the others. When Nangong Ziyue heard that, she smiled beautifully and left the wind cloud platform alone. "Senior brother Xiao Chun, how much of Yuchensi's strength do you think he used?" Lu Suifeng, who was beside Xiao Chun, asked out of curiosity. It was not just Lu Suifeng. All the spectating cultivators were discussing this topic. However, they did not dare to come to a conclusion. Some said that Yuchensi only used 60%. This was because Nangong Ziyue had been utterly defeated. Even though her immortal mountains and rivers technique had shattered, the rising sun did not scatter. There were also some who said that Yuchensi used her full strength. This was because the immortal mountains and rivers fist was so mighty. How could she only use 60% of her strength? Xiao Chun had his own judgment. He muttered, "About 80%. Their strengths are actually about the same." If Yuchensi had only used 60% of his strength, she would have been severely injured in the earlier hundreds of moves. She was able to obtain victory mostly because of her advantage in states. In the end, Nangong Ziyue's immortal mountains and rivers technique is not perfect. However, Yuchensi's rising sun technique is infinitely close to perfection. Lu Suifeng nodded, not fully understanding. Then he asked, "Infinitely close to perfection? What do you mean?" Glancing at Yu Chenxi, Xiaochen organized his thoughts. Then he said, "It is just a personal feeling of mine. I feel that it lacks the taste of nature, like it was sculpted by someone. However, to most people, it is no different from perfection." When Xiaochen looked at Yu Chenxi noticed him as well. Yu Chenxi smiled faintly and projected her voice. "Xiaochen, I will be waiting for you in the ranking battles. I hope that you can make me use my full strength this time." Xiaochen projected his voice as well and replied with a smile, "Don't worry. I will not disappoint you." As the first person to defeat a noble clan disciple in the past few five-nation youth competitions, Yu Chenxi immediately became the focus of everyone's attention. Everyone predicted that Yu Chenxi had the strength to fight for the top 5, that she would be the greatest dark horse in this five-nation youth competition. Even Xiaochen and Chu Chaoyan could not catch up to her. Every generation had its own talents. Be it Xiaochen, Chu Chaoyan or Yu Chenxi, they all proved this saying very well. This made this five-nation youth competition filled with vigor and added a lot of excitement. After all, if the same people kept winning, the competition would become boring. The city lord's residents, the organizers of the competition, were very satisfied with the performances of the contestants. The influence of the five-nation youth competition would only grow if the competition was filled with surprises and surprises. At this point in the second round of elimination, there were not many matches that could excite the crowd. After all, the seeded contestants were separated. There would not be too many strong matches. However, the match between Xianyuan Zhantian and Chu Chaoyan was regrettable. Chu Chaoyan and Xianyuan Zhantian exchanged 10 moves each before tacitly deciding to end in a draw. However, when one thought about it, it was understandable. Before the true ranking matches, the difference in strength between the two was not large. If they really fought, they might have to use up all their trump cards. At that time, when they faced the other heirs, they would lose a lot of their advantage. Next match, Xiaochen versus Lin Fei. Amidst this dull competition, the referee's voice, which was neither too loud nor too soft, immediately attracted the attention of quite a number of people. Their gazes were cast onto the dueling ring of Group 5. Xiaochen and Lin Fei are both on the newcomer ranking list. Furthermore, they have not tasted defeat yet. Given Lin Fei's character, he will definitely not end the match tacitly. That is natural. Ever since Xiaochen defeated Gong Yangyu, his popularity has surpassed Lin Fei's. He has probably been suppressing his anger for a long time. Lin Fei's strength is also somewhat unfathomable. Practically no one can truly block that Earth Vein Saber technique. No one knows if he has any other trump cards. Chu Chaoyan and Xianyuan Zhantian are tied. In that case, their consecutive victories have come to an end. The only newcomers who still have consecutive victories are these two. Chapter 583. This match will definitely be very exciting. Both of them are expert bladesmen. Furthermore, they are both newcomers. Both of them have a winning streak. There are too many things to watch. In this relatively uninteresting match, before the match between Xiaochen and Lin Fei even started, many people started discussing it. Lin Fei had been waiting for this moment for a long time. As the others said, he had been suppressing a fire in his heart. After the referee announced the match, Lin Fei pushed off the ground and landed in the arena. "Xiaochen, don't think that just because you defeated Gong Yangyu, you can suppress me. Your winning streak will end here." When Lin Fei saw Xiaochen enter the arena, he smiled disdainfully and purposely teased him. Xiaochen remained unmoved. He said calmly, "Just make your move. Let's see who will end whose winning streak." Lin Fei's Earth Vein Saber technique was unpredictable. It was indeed difficult to deal with. However, it was as Xiaochen said earlier. If Xiaochen wanted to use a surprise move to obtain victory, he could not keep going down this path. After using the Earth Vein Saber technique too many times, it was no longer a surprise move. Haha. In that case, hold your saber tightly. I'm coming. Lin Fei smiled gently, and his aura suddenly changed. His gaze became as sharp as a saber as he quickly flew towards Xiaochen. It had to be said that Lin Fei was indeed a brash person. However, when he entered a state of combat, his initial disdain and anxiety immediately vanished. If someone was confused by the aura Lin Fei displayed, they would be at a disadvantage. T. Lin Fei's speed was extremely fast. His body was like a solitary, sharp treasured saber. The formless wind in front of him was sliced in half like a piece of paper. When Lin Fei was 10 meters away from Xiaoqin, everyone thought that he would attack Xiaoqin head-on or circle around to attack Xiaoqin. Suddenly Lin Fei's upper body fell down. If it were an ordinary person, they would think that he tripped over something. Naturally, the cultivators did not think so. Lin Fei had suddenly changed his move. His entire body was on the ground, and at some point he had already drawn his saber. The edge of the saber flickered with a cold light. His entire body flew towards Xiaoqin at an extremely fast speed. The tip of his saber was pointed at Xiaoqin's knees. How unexpected! To think that Lin Fei would actually attack in such a manner. Furthermore, he was able to change his attack in such a short period of time. Most importantly, his movements are flawless. It's as smooth as flowing water. It's obvious that he's practiced it countless times. It looks like it was no coincidence that Lin Fei was able to reach his current level. Many martial artists on the platform exclaimed. If they were to face such a situation, it was very likely that they would be caught off guard and would lose their combat strength. Even if Xiaoqin reacted quickly and dodged Lin Fei's attack, he would immediately lose the initiative and be forced to defend. How would Xiaoqin respond? When many people face such a move, their first reaction would be to retreat. This was because the lower body of a cultivator was the hardest to defend. Furthermore, Lin Fei's attack was very fast and unexpected. It would be even more troublesome to block. Hence, retreating was the best option. Even if they lost the initiative, there was nothing they could do. However, Xiaoqin did not retreat. This was because he did not need to retreat. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiaoqin moved. He held the sheathed lunar shadow saber in his left hand and used the tip of the scabbard to chop at Lin Fei's wrist. The tip of the scabbard pointed downwards. Its speed was extremely fast, giving off a piercing sonic boom. If Lin Fei's wrist paused for a moment longer, the scabbard would pierce through his wrist. Relying on the speed of his attack, Xiaoqin reacted first despite making a move later. He immediately negated Lin Fei's unexpected attack and placed his opponent in an awkward position. If Xiaoqin's saber moved forward another step, he would be able to kill this strong opponent until he lost his combat strength. This was a great temptation. However, if Xiaoqin was too slow, his wrist would be pierced, and he would lose his combat strength. Victory or defeat was decided by a single thought. A simple move was enough to shake people to the core. This move of Xiaoqin's was to compete in speed with Lin Fei. He did not say anything, only asking if Lin Fei dared to compete. Did Lin Fei have the courage to compete? If you were faster, you would win, becoming the center of attention. If you were slower, you would immediately fall into the abyss. You would end up like Lu Xiaoyan, in a sorry state, losing all face. The huge contrast challenged Lin Fei's mental state. If Lin Fei's mental state was weaker, it would severely affect his performance in such a torturous situation. If he hesitated, he would not even have the chance to make a decision. He would be defeated. After seeing Xiaoqin and Gong Yangyu's fight, Lin Fei knew how fast Xiaoqin was. Hence he retreated. In the end, he did not dare to compete in speed with Xiaoqin. Lin Fei slapped the ground with his left hand and stood up again. His sneak attack failed, and he lost the initiative. He had to quickly pull away from Xiaoqin. Lin Fei had an unsightly expression as he quickly thought to himself. Bang! There was a loud sound as the tip of Xiaoqin's scabbard crashed into the wind cloud platform. Then it sank in by 3 centimeters. The force was so great that it flabbergasted everyone. The most terrifying thing was that even with such a great force, the wind cloud platform did not crack. The force did not leak out at all. Everyone was horrified. If Lin Fei had not retreated, this move might have chopped off his palm. Xiao. A lightning-like saber light flickered. After Xiaoqin stabbed the scabbard into the platform, he did not pause at all. He immediately drew the lunar shadow saber and hacked at Lin Fei with both hands. Taking advantage of your weakness had always been Xiaoqin's style. Now that the other party had lost the initiative, this was the best opportunity to make a move. Xiaoqin did not make a move yet. When he made a move, he had to do it with the force of a thunderbolt. injuring or crippling his opponent. Lin Fei had just stood up, and did not have the time to put some distance between them. When he faced this thunderous saber strike, he could only place his left hand on the saber, and hold it across his chest to defend passively. Dang! A huge force crashed into Lin Fei's saber. It was like a mountain of thunder pressing down. Lin Fei did not even have time to react. He vomited a mouthful of blood and shot back like a cannonball, crashing into the wind cloud barrier. The huge rebound caused Lin Fei to fall to the ground. He vomited another mouthful of blood, and his complexion turned incredibly pale. Xiao Chen flew forward, not giving Lin Fei a chance to catch his breath. He executed his state of massacre and state of thunder, not giving Lin Fei a chance to react. He launched an unending barrage of attacks. Dang! 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 When the weapons clashed, sparks flew. Lin Fei struggled to deal with the attacks. He was pushed back repeatedly, and his pale face turned even more unsightly. Every one of Xiao Chen's saber strikes contained vast force. With the support of the two states, the might was even greater, worsening Lin Fei's injuries. If this continued, Lin Fei would definitely lose within 100 moves. Earth Vein Saber Technique. After enduring for a long time, Lin Fei finally grasped an opportunity to execute the consummate technique that made him famous. When Lin Fei blocked Xiao Chen's attacks, a strand of saber chi suddenly shot out from his feet, heading for Xiao Chen's chest. The might of that earth vein saber chi was also very vast. It used the earth as its source of power, and it was no weaker than Lin Fei's full-powered saber strike. Lin Fei did not hope that this strand of saber chi could injure Xiao Chen. He only hoped that it would give him a chance to catch his breath. After being severely injured by Xiao Chen's saber strike, Lin Fei still had no chance to catch his breath. The injuries in his body worsened. If this continued to accumulate, he would not be able to suppress them. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said calmly, "I have been waiting for the earth vein saber technique for a long time." Others might fear this earth vein saber technique, but Xiao Chen had never feared it. Xiao Chen clenched his left hand into a fist and circulated his vital qi. A sharp azure energy gathered on his fist. This was the Dragon Claw Fist's third move, Breaking Armor Fist. Bang! The sharp azure energy clashed with that strand of saber chi. This punch, which had the attribute of breaking armor, immediately shattered that strand of saber chi, turning it into nothing. Of course, the might of the breaking armor fist was completely nullified. As Xiao Chen attacked with his left hand, he did not stop holding his saber with his right hand. He swung it gently and sent out an arc-light chop. Another wound appeared on Lin Fei's body. His body was sent flying several times by the lightning currents that exploded from the arcs of light. "You are too much. Xiao Chen, you have angered me." From the start of the competition until now, Lin Fei had been suppressed from the start. The earth vein saber technique that he was famous for was instantly broken by his opponent. Lin Fei could no longer hold back the rage in his heart. He shouted, and his 3-meter-long saber hummed. A sharp saber intent spread out from the saber. Lin Fei said calmly, "Originally, I was only planning to use it in the ranking matches. Xiao Chen, you should feel honored that you managed to force me to use my saber intent." The cultivators in the spectator stands were immediately astonished. They had not expected Lin Fei to have hidden himself so deeply. He had actually comprehended saber intent, the most difficult thing for a bladesman to comprehend. Furthermore, he had not used it yet. This time Xiao Chen is in trouble. With the support of saber intent, the might of a bladesman's martial technique will increase by at least 50%. Looking at Lin Fei's saber intent, it should have reached 20% as well. It is only slightly weaker than Bai Qi's. Furthermore, they are both bladesmen. If one side has saber intent and the other does not, the difference will be even more obvious. Indeed, a swordsman can use sword intent to block. What can a bladesman use to block? A cultivator in the spectator stands sighed softly. Saber intent was hard to comprehend. Once one comprehended it, one would gain boundless might. This was already a publicly acknowledged fact in the world of cultivators. The situation was probably going to turn around soon. Withering grass and trees. Lin Fei roared ferociously and executed his trump card martial technique. A desolate aura spread out from the saber's edge. making everyone feel the heavy aura of death. If there were any flowers or trees here, the power of this saber strike would definitely cause them to wither quickly. With the support of saber intent, the might of this move increased explosively. It contained the power to wither everything. This time, Lin Fei took the initiative to attack, hoping to turn the situation around in one move. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said indifferently, "Saber intent? I seem to know it as well." Wang. The long, pitch-black lunar shadow saber trembled uncontrollably. A saber intent that was even stronger than Lin Fei's spread out wildly from the saber's edge. The strong saber intent pierced through the wind cloud barrier, causing the bladesmen nearby to feel fear. The sabers in their hands trembled as well. This is a peak small perfection saber intent. It is on par with Bai Qi's saber intent. This is too shocking. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen comprehended saber intent as well. Furthermore, it is much stronger than Lin Fei's. Chapter 584. Everyone's expressions changed drastically. At this moment, they suddenly discovered that they could not see through Xiao Chen's strength at all. A strong wind blew, and clouds churned, quickly gathering above Xiao Chen's head. This was the starting move of the lightning tribulation saber technique, gathering wind and clouds. As the wind blew, the clouds moved, and the clouds gathered with the wind. As the wind blew and clouds churned, Xiao Chen took a step forward and swept his saber with an even stronger aura. Puxia. Puxia. The saber intent that Lin Fei was so proud of as his trump card crumbled before Xiao Chen's even stronger saber intent. Even the state of withering plants crumbled. Before the saber blade could touch Xiao Chen, the aura of Xiao Chen's saber shattered it. Dang! A melodious sound rang out, and the saber in Lin Fei's hand fell. A vast and unblockable force knocked Lin Fei into the air. When Lin Fei crashed into the wind cloud barrier, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. The suppressed injuries in his body instantly erupted, and he fell to the ground, unable to get up again. How can this be? You actually comprehended saber intent as well. As Lin Fei looked at Xiao Chen, whose clothes fluttered in the wind and clouds, and whose aura was wild and unruly, heavy shock filled his eyes. He had not expected such an ending. Xiao Chen wins. You gain 2 points. The referee on the platform looked at Xiao Chen. He felt very curious as well, discovering that he could not see through this youth. Xiao Chen slowly walked to the scabbard in the wind cloud platform. Then he accurately sheathed the lunar shadow saber. His left hand grasped the saber hilt, and gently pulled it out. Then he casually left the platform. Roar! The instant Xiao Chen drew the scabbard from the wind cloud platform, a strand of dragon chi immediately came out of the hole. This dragon chi had been suppressed by Xiao Chen's scabbard for too long. The moment it came out, it gave off a resonant dragon roar. This dragon roar was even louder than any of the previous dragon roars from the wind cloud arena. The originally formless dragon chi actually condensed together with this loud dragon roar. Xiao Chen roared ferociously and tore through the wind cloud barrier. Then he soared into the thick, lingering dark clouds 10 kilometers above Dragon Ceiling City. Jiao! The dragon chi tore a hole in the thick, dark clouds, and a dazzling golden light immediately poured down. It descended from the sky and enveloped Xiao Chen, who was walking slowly. The dazzling golden light moved with Xiao Chen. When the hundreds of thousands of cultivators saw this scene, they all gaped speechless. On the dragon pillar, Sima Lingxian had experienced such a scene as well. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen received such treatment as well. Lin Fei, who had just climbed up from the wind cloud platform, felt dissatisfied when he saw this scene. He said angrily, "Damn it! The golden light enveloping me and everyone's attention is something that I should be enjoying." Bai Qi, who had not truly treated Xiao Chen as an opponent all this while, had a grave expression on his face. Aside from Xianyuan Zhantian, there is one more person in the fight for the top 3. Sima Lingxian, who sat alone in the seated seat with absolute confidence, revealed a strange look in his eyes. However, it quickly disappeared. Sima Lingxian said softly, "No matter how strong you are destined to be my stepping stone in this 5-nation youth competition. Being in the same generation as me, Sima Lingxian, is your tragedy." When Xiao Chen sat down, The golden light that had been accompanying him slowly disappeared. The hole that the thick dark clouds had broken through started to close up. After this scene, the matches that did not have many exciting matches in the first place became even more lackluster. Aside from the matches of the noble clans, which attracted some attention, no one paid any attention to the other matches. Most of the cultivators in the spectator stands started discussing the geniuses that appeared in the 2 elimination rounds. Actually, in this 5-nation youth competition, there are only 4 true newcomers: Xiao Chun, Chu Chaoyan, Xianyuan Zhantian, and Yu Chenxi. The others can only serve as foils for them. That can't be right. How can Yu Chenxi be counted? She participated in the previous 5-nation youth competition. Haha. How can she not be counted? She was not outstanding in the previous 5-nation youth competition. In this 5-nation youth competition, she suddenly erupted and defeated Nangong Ziyue. She can definitely be counted as a newcomer. Right, I feel that she can be counted as well. How unfortunate for Lin Fei. If he did not suffer such a miserable defeat in the final match, he could be considered one of the 5 newcomers. Indeed, he is also a peak genius who comprehended saber intent. Unfortunately, he ran into Xiao Chun and lost too miserably. The nearby cultivators discussed fervently. From the very start, they could not stop talking. They were all very fervent. However, they could not be blamed. Compared to the previous 5-nation youth competitions, this one was simply too exciting. There were many geniuses and newcomers. The strength of the veteran experts was still present. There was an intense clash between the old and the new, and everyone could feel it clearly. Geniuses appeared in large numbers, outstanding talents gathered. This was a great era of geniuses. They could personally witness the arrival of this age of geniuses, the birth of the main character of this age. They could not help but feel excited. The geniuses that appeared might very well become future martial emperors, leaving their names in the annals of history. I feel that these 4 people have the strength to make it into the top 5. The 8 noble clans' monopoly on the top 8 will be broken. It is too early to say this. The strength of the science is clear for all to see. Which one of them is mediocre? Furthermore, they are all older than them. It is hard to say. That's right. We will only know who is strong and who is weak after they fight. However, this 5-nation youth competition is a feast for my eyes. This trip was not made in vain. Amidst the clamor, the second elimination round slowly came to an end. Today's elimination round was different from the previous one. One could not just leave after fighting. The city lord's residence's people would tally the points and announce the 100 people who qualified to participate in the ranking matches. These 100 people would also enter the True Dragon ranking. When the 5-nation youth competition ended, their names would truly spread throughout the world. Morong Chong was clearly nervous. He had a proud and aloof character, so he cared a lot about the True Dragon ranking. He had lost 7 matches in today's elimination round and had 3 draws. He had no idea if he could pass with such results. Yun Kursen looked rather weak. She had been injured in the battle, so she had no choice but to end the competition early. Although she was very optimistic, seeing that the True Dragon ranking was about to be announced, she could not help but feel disappointed. Boom, boom, boom. Wind and thunder roared everywhere. The 20 wind cloud platforms quickly merged together, forming 10 even larger wind cloud platforms. Suddenly, a taller and larger wind cloud platform rose in the center of the wind cloud platform. It was clearly different from the others. This wind cloud platform was polygonal, with a total of 10 corners. Each corner had a dragon pillar. The Dragon Ceiling City's city lord stood on the wind cloud platform, holding a list of names. He said, "I will now announce the participants who are qualified to participate in the ranking matches. Those whose names are not announced are not selected." As the city lord read out the names, the final suspense was finally revealed. Fortunately, Morong Chang's name was among them. Now there were 2 people from the Heavenly Saber Pavilion on the wind cloud platform. The city lord only read out 99 names, not the 100th. However, everyone knew that the 100th name was reserved for the first seed, Sima Lingxian. Only he had this honor in 2 consecutive 5-nation youth competitions. The ranking matches will begin in 3 days. At that time, the rules will be announced. Go back and have a good rest. 3 days later, in the courtyard of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in Dragon Sealing City, Jiang Qi said sincerely to the two of them, Morongcheng, Xiaochun, the ranking matches are about to begin. There is no need for the two of you to feel any psychological burden. For you to reach this step, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion already owes you too much. Xiaochun nodded and said, We will do our best and leave it to fate. As long as we do our best, Xiaochun will not have any regrets. Morongcheng said the same thing. After reaching this step and seeing countless geniuses, Morongcheng had become much more mature. Jiang Qi smiled and said, Let's go then. The Dragon Sealing City's city lord, Zongliang, stood on the tallest wind cloud platform surrounded by 10 dragon pillars, and announced the rules of the ranking matches. The ranking matches would not be split into groups. There would be 100 rounds. Every participant would only have to fight one match in each round. That way, there would be 50 matches in each round. Like the elimination rounds, the ranking matches used a point system. All the participants would start from 0. A win would give them 2 points, a loss would deduct 2 points. The only difference was that there were no draws. There had to be a victor. The purpose of this was to prevent a tacit understanding like in the elimination rounds. Now that the ranking matches were at the end, naturally, the organizers would not allow such a situation to occur. It was impossible to finish 100 rounds in one day. Every day, the matches would end before the sky turned dark. By the time the 50 rounds were over, it might take 4 or 5 days. Chapter 585. The rules for this 5-nation rankings are rather interesting. After 100 rounds, every participant will have to display their full strength. They cannot hide their strength. However, the opponents for each round are not decided by drawing lots or by themselves. They are all arranged by the city lord's residence. Haha, that is not a problem. The city lord's residence will definitely not favor any participant. I guess the purpose of doing this is to prevent the super geniuses from meeting each other early. It would be boring for the super geniuses to meet each other so early. It is better to leave some suspense in the competition. Overall, the rules for this 5-nation rankings tournament were very normal. There was nothing new about it, nor was there anything worthy of criticism. The elders of the various sects all expressed no objections. Seeing that no one had any objections, Zongliang continued, Since there are no objections, let's invite the top 100 participants to come up and prepare for the ceremony to collect luck. After that, the first round of the 5-nation rankings tournament will officially begin. Luck was ethereal and formless. It was hard to grasp. How could it be collected? This was the first time Xiaochun participated in such a ceremony. He was very curious, so he walked up with some anticipation. There were a total of 11 wind cloud arenas. Aside from the tallest wind cloud arena in the middle, there were 10 people standing on each of the other 10 arenas. Zongliang closed his eyes and quickly formed hand seals with his hands. It was an ancient and complicated hand seal. In an instant, his 10 fingers moved more than 100 times. An ancient, dignified, and divine aura spread out from Zongliang's body. The tallest arena under his feet started to shake violently. Roar, 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 roar. Below the wind cloud arena, several tens of thousands of meters deep, 4 desolate dragon roars resounded. The dragon roars were deep and drawn out. Compared to the dragon roars contained in the dragon chi, the difference was like heaven and earth. That ancient and savage aura put a heavy pressure on the 100 participants. Their legs felt as heavy as lead. They could not move a single step. They felt like a huge rock was pressing against their chests, making them feel very uncomfortable. Did I hear wrong? There were actually 4 dragon roars. 4 dragon roars means 4 dragon veins have awakened. Normally, it would be heaven-defying to awaken only 2. The Age of Geniuses truly lives up to its name. All 4 dragon veins have awakened. The participants of this 5-nation youth competition have obtained more than 4 times the luck of previous years. In the spectator stands, there were cultivators who had watched many 5-nation youth competitions. The awakening of the 4 dragon veins represented the beginning of the Age of Geniuses. In the future, a martial emperor would be born. In the previous age of geniuses, the Thunder King Sang Mu appeared. He was someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the Tianwu Emperor. Who knew what kind of powerful character would appear this time? The dragon roar stirred up the dark clouds in the sky. Thunder rumbled one after another, and the atmosphere of the entire place became oppressive and heavy. Xiao. The instant the thunder stopped, 100 holes appeared in the thick clouds 10 kilometers above Dragon Ceiling City. 100 golden pillars of light descended from the sky and enveloped all the participants of the ranking battles. Drip a drop of blood on the jade pendant at your waists, and the ceremony will be complete. The 4 dragon veins will awaken. How much luck you can collect will depend on your ability, Zhong Liang said weakly. When Xiaochen heard this, he removed the dragon-shaped jade pendant at his waist. The little golden dragon swam around happily in the transparent jade pendant. Xiaochen pricked his finger and dripped a drop of blood. The blood seeped into the jade pendant and entered the body of the little golden dragon. Pooh! Xiaochen felt that his soul and mind seemed to be connected to the little dragon. That little dragon seemed to have become his incarnation. Furthermore, he seemed to have established a weak connection with some kind of majestic existence. He could not explain what it was. The ranking battles took place in the same arena. After the ceremony ended, 4 referees walked onto the tall arena surrounded by 10 dragon pillars. The first match of the first round of the ranking battles begins. Wang Quan vs. Lin Fei. Wang Quan was the scion of the Wang clan, one of the 8 noble clans. He was ranked 6th in the previous 5-nation youth competition. He was a true giant of the younger generation. The weapon he used was the rather troublesome Dragon Fiend Whip. The Dragon Fiend Whip was said to have been made by an expert of the Wang clan's ancestral generation. They killed a fiend dragon in the Kunlun realm and used the bones on its back to make it. Then they gave it to the younger generation of the Wang clan to use. Lin Fei was one of the experts on the newcomer ranking list. His earth vein saber technique was unfathomable. What was even rarer was that he comprehended saber intent to 20%. Although Lin Fei lost to Xiaochen, no one could deny his strength. Everyone guessed that although he could not defeat Wang Quan, he could still hold his own. As long as Lin Fei could hold his own, he could continue fighting. Even if he could not obtain victory, fighting with an expert would allow him to gain some comprehension and raise his cultivation. Wang Quan sheathed the Dragon Fiend Whip at his waist and looked at Lin Fei with a relaxed expression. He smiled and said, "You are Lin Fei? I have noticed you. I have long wanted to try out your earth vein saber technique. Make your move." Wang Quan's small matter upset Lin Fei. He said, "Don't act like victory is already in your grasp. Be careful of failing miserably in an easy task." Haha. In that case, let me see how you are going to make me fail miserably in an easy task. Wang Quan smiled faintly. He did not think much of it. Lin Fei's fight with Xiaochen had thoroughly exposed his strength. Wang Quan did not feel any pressure when facing Lin Fei. If not for him being excited to see how strange the earth vein saber technique was, he would not even be bothered to say anything to Lin Fei. Wang. Lin Fei drew his saber. He had no intention of hiding his strength when facing Wang Quan. The moment he made his move, he brought out his saber intent. A strand of saber chi shot out from Lin Fei's feet. His figure flickered and arrived before Wang Quan, hacking down with his saber. With the support of saber intent, the 6-meter-long saber light spat out a cold light, looking very mighty. Wang Quan did not rush to clash head-on with his opponent. He pushed off the ground and dodged the other party's saber light. During the 10 moves, Wang Quan dodged all the time. He did not intend to make a move, moving around the saber lights that Lin Fei sent out. Earth vein saber technique. After forcing Wang Quan back with another move, Lin Fei finally executed the earth vein saber technique. The saber chi that came from the ground and the saber light on the saber attacked his opponent at the same time. Chi. Even though Wang Quan had anticipated this and did his best to dodge, the saber chi that came from the ground still tore a hole in his robes. If not for Lin Fei's movement technique, this saber strike would have injured Wang Quan. Not bad, continue. A strange look flashed in Wang Quan's eyes as he smiled gently. Seeing that Wang Quan still had no intention of drawing out the Dragon Fiend Whip, Lin Fei became completely enraged. He combined his saber intent and executed the earth vein saber technique to its limits. Immediately, saber lights flew everywhere, kicking up strong winds and howling winds. Lin Fei's unpredictable saber techniques were like a phantom. Wang Quan was surrounded by danger, like a leaf in the wind. It seemed like the saber chi could injure him at any moment. After another 10 moves, Wang Quan shook his head slightly. He thought to himself, the earth vein saber technique is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, Lin Fei has not comprehended the state of earth and cannot bring out its full might. Wang Quan lost interest in the earth vein saber technique. He grasped the dragon fiend whip at his waist and said softly, "The game is over. You can be defeated now." Wang Quan pulled his right hand up, and the dragon fiend whip coiled around him, encasing him within. Then, it turned into intense wind blades flying in all directions. The instant the storm appeared, Lin Fei's saber technique stopped. He was preparing to use the earth vein saber technique again. However, before he could react, the saber technique that he had stored up was scattered. Wang Quan grasped Lin Fei's rhythm. When he attacked, he disrupted Lin Fei's saber technique. Wang Quan shook his wrist, and the dragon fiend whip, which had coiled around him, changed its direction and flew towards Lin Fei's chest. At this moment, Wang Quan's aura completely changed. The smile on his face vanished, and his gaze became as sinister as a venomous snake's, devoid of any emotion. A strong aura burst out and completely suppressed Lin Fei's aura. Lin Fei, who had just disrupted Lin Fei's saber technique, saw the whip flying at him like a ferocious dragon. He could not help but be distracted for a moment. "Kasie! Kasie!" By the time Lin Fei reacted, the whip had already sent him tumbling through the air. When he landed on the ground, he vomited a large mouthful of blood. Several of his ribs had been broken. The jade pendant at Lin Fei's waist immediately shot out a strand of golden light and entered Wang Quan's jade pendant. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant dimmed slightly. As for the little golden dragon in Wang Quan's jade pendant, its luster became much denser. When Xiaochen saw this inconceivable scene, a grave look flashed in his eyes. He asked doubtfully, "What's going on?" The first elder, Jiangqi, explained, "This is possession. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant is the luck that you obtained from the dragon vein. Every time you defeat someone, you can forcefully possess a trace of the other party's luck. When it accumulates to a certain level, the golden dragon will break out of the jade pendant. At that time, the competition for luck will be even more intense." Xiaochen said in understanding, "Indeed, that is the case. No wonder the city lord said that how much luck you obtain depends on your ability." Such a forceful possession was extremely cruel to those who were weaker. The natural law of survival of the fittest was clearly displayed at this moment. Xiaochen sighed. He thought to himself, the best of times, the worst of times. In the end, the age of geniuses is just the stage for the strong. The weak can only become the stepping stones for the strong, allowing them to go further and higher. The competition continued. There were 50 matches in each round. Everyone had one chance to fight. This time, it was Bai Qi's turn to fight. His opponent was a small perfection half-step martial monarch bladesman. When facing Bai Qi, who possessed a peak small perfection saber intent, that participant chose to admit defeat. The jade pendant at his waist immediately shot out a strand of golden light and merged with Bai Qi's jade pendant. Match 36, Xiaochen vs. Duanmuqing. When Xiaochen heard Duanmuqing's name, he was somewhat surprised. He had not expected someone from the great Qin nation to enter the top 100. Furthermore, it was someone he was familiar with. In the wind cloud platform, Duanmuqing looked at the white-robed Xiaochen. A helpless expression appeared in her cold eyes. Back then, Xiaochen could not even withstand one palm strike from her. However, after he became famous at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, she could no longer catch up to him. Even now, Xiaochen was a newcomer that everyone paid attention to. He was a hot contender for the top 10 spots in the five-nation youth competition. However, she had barely managed to enter the top 100 after much difficulty. Chapter 586. Xiaochen, how about we decide this in one move? Duanmuqing asked softly. Xiaochen did not reject. He nodded and said, "Make your move." Frost's rage. Duan black hair turned white. He immediately took out his killing move, a slender sword covered in frost. A sharp state of ice spewed out from the tip of the sword. It seemed like it wanted to engulf the world and seal the sea in ice. Kasi. Xiao Chen drew his saber and used his 30% comprehended saber intent. A solid crystalline saber chi flew out from his saber. After chopping his opponent's state of ice in half, the saber chi's sharpness did not diminish. Then it broke through Duan Yuking's protective essence and left a shallow wound on his body. Duan Yuking knew that this was Xiao Chen showing mercy. At the same time, she was even more astonished at Xiao Chen's strength. At the last moment, he could still control the saber chi he sent out as he pleased. As of now, the gap between her and Xiao Chen could no longer be described as a chasm. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and thought for a while. Then he said, "Your state of ice is somewhat superficial. It looks very mighty, but its energy is scattered. You are not Lu Xiaoyan. Without sufficient accumulations, you will not be able to withstand a single blow from an expert. You might as well turn the state of ice into a cold wind and infuse it into your sword technique. Although it will be weaker this way, it will be more condensed." When Duan Yuking heard this, she entered deep thought. She vaguely felt like she figured out some problems. After a while she said, "Many thanks." The victor was already decided. The jade pendant at Duan Yuking's waist shot out a golden line uncontrollably and entered the little dragon in Xiao Chen's jade pendant. Xiao Chen immediately felt that the golden dragon had become slightly stronger. Furthermore, it appeared to be very happy. Sima Lingxian stepped out after Xiao Chen. Before Sima Lingxuan's strong self-confidence, his opponent did not even dare to look him in the eye. The moment Sima Lingxian stepped out, he admitted defeat. When Sima Lingxian saw the golden line enter the jade pendant, his lips curled up. He shook his head gently and said, "How boring." The competition proceeded in an orderly fashion. There were some lessons learned earlier. When the ordinary participants met with the scions of the 8 noble clans or young giants like Xianyuan Zhantian, they would not be able to win. He could either choose to admit defeat or directly choose to use one move to determine the winner and loser. He wanted to understand the gap between him and the giants. In this way, the progress of the 50 matches wasn't slow, and a round was completed in 2 hours. By the time the sun was about to set, 12 rounds of competition had already been carried out. Xiao Chen had won 12 matches in a row without losing a single match. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant at his waist was not only bright and did not dim in the slightest, but it had also grown significantly larger. The entire jade pendant was covered in blood. One more victory, and the jade pendant was about to break out. As for the golden dragon in Murong Chang's jade pendant, it was far inferior to Xiao Chen's. Of the 12 matches, Murong Chang only obtained 5 victories. Not only did the golden dragon not grow larger, it even dimmed and became smaller. Murong Chang sneaked a glance at the golden dragon in Xiao Chen's jade pendant and felt somewhat dispirited. Comparing oneself to others was truly infuriating. If not for Xiao Chen's existence, no matter how bad Murong Chang's results were, he would be able to shake the heavenly saber pavilion. However, when compared to Xiao Chen, the gap immediately became apparent. How was his golden dragon a dragon? It was not even comparable to a worm. Murong Chang felt very depressed. When he returned, he would be too embarrassed to speak of his results. Roar! Just at this moment, there was the melodious sound of something breaking. A dragon roar resounded. After Wang Quan defeated his opponent in one move, the jade pendant at his waist shattered. A golden light flickered, and a 15-meter-long 5-clawed golden dragon appeared above his head. It broke. Wang Quan's golden dragon, which won 13 matches in a row, finally came out. The moment it came out, it is already 15 meters long. It looks like his luck is not weak. When a regular contestant's golden dragon breaks out of their jades, it is only 10 meters long. That is natural. Wang Quan obtained the 6th rank last year. How can other cultivators compare to his luck? Kasi. After Wang Quan's golden dragon broke out of his jades, the golden dragons of the top 10 contestants of the previous 5-nation youth competition also broke out of their jades. Incredible. Nangong Ziyue's golden dragon is also 15 meters long. Qianwen's golden dragon is also 15 meters long. Gong Yangyu's golden dragon is slightly weaker. It is only 45 meters long. It is only 1 meter stronger than Lu Xiaoyun's. However, in terms of strength, Bai Qi's golden dragon is still stronger. It is 25 meters long. The second-ranked contestant in the previous five-nation youth competition is indeed extraordinary. Bai Qi had just finished his match. The 20-meter-long golden dragon above his head looked down on the crowd. The other golden dragons circling in the sky were all inferior to him. Next match, Sima Lingxian against Gao Wei. After the referee's voice rang out, Sima Lingxuan's figure flashed a few times. He arrived on the arena and stood there proudly. Naturally, he attracted everyone's attention. After this match, Sima Lingxuan's golden dragon will probably come out as well. I wonder how long it will be? Will it be able to surpass Bai Qi? He will definitely surpass Bai Qi. It just depends on how much he surpasses him. Is it 1 meter or 3 meters? The crowd was filled with anticipation. They wanted to see how long the golden dragon of this man, who had been a seeded participant for 2 consecutive five-nation youth competitions, would be. The contestant named Gao Wei was a disciple of a large sect in the Great Jin Nation. Although his sect was not one of the top 10 great sects, it had a lot of accumulations. It controlled more than 10 spirit veins. His sect did not lack resources. Furthermore, his talent was outstanding. Furthermore, he came from the Great Jin Nation, which was rich in spiritual energy. Thus, he managed to enter the top 100 rather easily. However, when Gao Wei heard that his opponent for this round was Sima Lingxian, his expression turned extremely depressed. He unwillingly walked to the Wind Cloud Arena. When Gao Wei fought with the other noble clan disciples, even if he could not defeat them, he would choose to win in one move. He wanted to see if he could comprehend some martial techniques. However, when facing Sima Lingxian, he had no choice but to admit defeat. This was because Sima Lingxuan's strong self-confidence had completely merged with his aura. If one exchanged glances with Sima Lingxian, they would automatically feel inferior to him if their thoughts were not strong enough. Under such circumstances, they would not even be able to bring out half of their strength. How could they exchange moves with Sima Lingxian? This was simply a joke. I admit defeat. As the crowd expected, Sima Lingxuan's 13th opponent chose to admit defeat like the ones before him. He did not even have the courage to exchange moves. After Gao Wei admitted defeat, a golden dragon chi from the jade pendant at his waist shot into Sima Lingxuan's jade pendant with a xiao sound. Kasie. The sound of the jade pendant shattering rang out. A dazzling golden light flickered, and a 23-meter-long 5-clawed golden dragon circled above Sima Lingxuan's head. Then it soared into the air. The 23-meter-long golden dragon, immediately outshone by Qi's 23-meter-long golden dragon. Among the many golden dragons that were 40 or 50 meters long, it stood out like a crane among a flock of chickens. Sima Lingxian is indeed Sima Lingxian. No wonder he is so strong and has such strong luck. No one can defeat him. He is 6 meters taller than Bai Qi. That is a suppressive advantage. Although luck does not represent a person's strength, it is still an important factor. Haha. This is just the beginning. When the ranking matches are over, we will be able to determine his luck. That's true. I wonder if Sima Lingxuan's golden dragon can reach 23 meters, reaching the peak of the 9 digits and becoming a true sovereign. The golden dragon breaking out of jade. That was the golden dragon that represented Sima Lingxuan's luck. The moment it appeared, it shocked everyone. When Xiaochen saw Sima Lingxuan's golden dragon, a look of astonishment flashed in his eyes. He thought to himself, I wonder how much luck I have. However, when Xiaochen thought about it, it should not be as high as Sima Lingxuan's. At most, it should be about the same level as Wang Quan and the others, slightly weaker than Bai Qi. After all, Xiaochen had only been in this world for a short time. If he had not reached the 8th floor of the ancient desolate tower, he would have been slightly weaker than Wang Quan and the others, who had obtained dragon vein luck in the previous five-nation youth competition. However, Xiaochen did not worry too much. This was just the beginning. As long as he kept winning, his luck would increase and his opponent's luck would decrease. Taking over another person's luck to strengthen one's own body. The strong would become stronger, and the weak would become weaker. When Chu Chaoyun saw the luck above Sima Lingxuan's head, an undetectable desire flashed in his eyes. He muttered to himself, "The luck of the Wind Cloud platform is indeed strong. It is even stronger than the luck of my Tianwu dynasty's remnant races. However, after this competition, your luck will end here." As the 13th round of matches progressed, the jade pendants on the waists of the contestants who ranked highly in the previous five-nation youth competition and won 13 matches in a row shattered, turning into golden dragons soaring in the air. Next match, Nangong Ziyue vs. Li Tianhua. Nangong Ziyue was ranked 8th in the previous five-nation youth competition. Li Tianhua was the scion of the Li clan, one of the 8 noble clans. He was ranked 5th in the previous five-nation youth competition. In the 13th round of matches, the Wind Cloud platform finally welcomed a match between the strong. The disciples of the 8 noble clans fought together. This immediately attracted the attention of many people. Li Tianhua's weapon was a spear. He specialized in the coiling dragon spear technique. It was famous for its ferocity and tyranny. It was a peak superior Great Earth-ranked martial technique. The coiling dragon was like the flood dragon, horn dragon, earth dragon, and fire dragon. They were all high-ranked spirit beasts that contained the bloodline of dragons. The coiling dragon was one of the more noble ones. It contained large amounts of true dragon blood. However, it had lost its ability to soar through the 9 heavens and spent most of its time in hibernation. However, the energy that the coiling dragon spat out was no weaker than that of a true dragon. It could easily shatter mountains and split the earth. Hence, it was known as the true dragon of the earth. Xiaochen had seen Li Tianhua make a move before. The moment the two of them appeared, he could roughly guess the result. Nangong Ziyue was not a match for Li Tianhua. The state that Li Tianhua used happened to be the nemesis of the state of mountains and rivers. In a situation where their cultivations were similar, the states countered each other. If Nangong Ziyue wanted to win, she could only rely on technique. The development of the Wind Cloud platform was similar to what Xiaochen expected. Li Tianhua held his spear and took the stance of a coiling dragon. As the spear danced, it was like a coiling dragon soaring up and down. Its aura was vast and imposing. On the ground, Li Tianhua was able to suppress Nangong Ziyue's immortal mountains and rivers fist. Occasionally, the spear shattered a tall mountain. The river splashed up into the sky. The water flowed continuously. It was difficult for the towering mountains to form a strong momentum. When it came to Nangong Ziyue's fist technique, its might was significantly weaker. Her aura lacked a tyrannical air. Chapter 587. Nangong Ziyue frowned and tried to salvage the situation. She stopped clashing head-on with Li Tianhua and tried to use techniques to obtain victory. However, it was already too late. Nangong Ziyue had already lost the initiative. Li Tianhua had already grasped the rhythm of the match. It was not something she could change. In the end, Nangong Ziyue could only stake everything on one throw. She punched with her incomplete state and executed the immortal mountains and rivers, trying to decide victory in one move. Twin dragons playing with a pearl. Li Tianhua smiled faintly. Victory was in his grasp, so he executed the best move of the coiling dragon spear technique. The tip of the spear trembled and sent out 2 spear lights. They turned into 2 ferocious coiling dragons and clashed with Nangong Ziyue's fists. The coiling dragons roared ferociously and the incomplete state of mountains and rivers shattered. Nangong Ziyue took 10 steps back and helplessly admitted defeat. A golden light flashed and snatched away some of Nangong Ziyue's luck. Li Tianhua's golden dragon also broke out of the jade. It was 25 meters long. Its luck was also at the peak. 50th match, Xiaochen vs. Baijian. This was the last match of the 13th round, as well as the last match of the day. It was finally Xiaochen's turn to fight. Furthermore, his opponent was someone he was familiar with. When Xiaochen saw Baijian walk up to the dueling ring, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. Then he walked up the dueling ring with heavy steps. Baijian felt very complicated in his heart. Originally, he thought that after merging ice and fire, he would be able to defeat Xiaochen and wash away his previous humiliation. Who knew, Xiao Chen's improvement was even greater than his. Even Gong Yangyu lost to Xiao Chen. Gong Yangyu was much stronger than Baijian. Even though Baijian felt somewhat dissatisfied, he had to admit this fact. Right now, Xiao Chen was stronger than Baijian. Furthermore, Xiao Chen was not just stronger by 1 or 2 levels. However, when Baijian saw Xiao Chen ascend the dueling ring, the dissatisfaction in his eyes immediately vanished. He smiled and said, "Xiao Chen, congratulations. You have obtained consecutive victories and have not lost a single match. It looks like you will definitely make it into the top 10. Maintaining his silence, Xiao Chen's killing intent brewed in his heart. Crystallized yuan qi, which was like a solid substance, wandered around his body. All kinds of killing moves could be launched at any time. The smile on Baijian's face became even wider as he continued. Unfortunately, no matter how strong you are, you will not be able to protect your friends. After 100 battles, your friends Kim Taeho, Bai Morongchong, Ding Fengqiu, and Chu Mu will meet me. Their end will be as terrible as Zuomo's. All of this is because of you. Because of you, Xiao Chen, they ended up like this. Because you offended me, none of them will have a good ending." Since he could not hurt Baijian, he vented his anger on Baijian's friends. Baijian did not care about his identity as a genius at all. Such a character was no different from scum. The killing intent in Xiao Chen's heart was monstrous. He said coldly, "Are you done?" Seeing that Xiao Chen was angry, Baijian's smile became even crazier. "Ha ha ha ha. What's wrong? Are you angry and want to hit me? Unfortunately, you cannot do so. You can only watch as your friends get tortured by me, one by one. I admit defeat." However, before I could say the word admit defeat, Baijian cried out miserably and failed to admit defeat. It was Xiao Chen who made his move. The instant he spoke, he executed the lightning evasion. An electric light flashed, and he arrived before Baijian. Xiao Chen's vital qi surged as he executed the berserk dragon fist on Baijian's chest. He swallowed the last word he wanted to say. In the wind cloud platform, after one side admitted defeat, the other side had to stop attacking. This was a hard and fast rule. No one could break it, not even Sima Lingxian. This was Baijian's plan. He wanted to admit defeat and infuriate Xiao Chen. Even if he could not defeat him, he wanted to disgust him. However, Baijian had not expected Xiao Chen to have such a strange magic technique. Xiao Chen appeared before Baijian in an instant. Baijian did not have much time to think. He moved his hands, wanting to force Xiao Chen back temporarily, and then admit defeat. A cold wind gathered on his left hand, and a surging flame appeared on his right hand. This was Baijian's signature move, the icy flame palm. One was ice and one was fire. When the cold and heat alternated, the opponent would feel extremely uncomfortable. Even cultivators stronger than Baijian would have to be cautious when dealing with such a situation. Breaking armor. Seizing the heart. Xiao Chen clenched his right fist and executed the breaking armor stance. A sharp azure shockwave with the breaking armor attribute scattered Baijian's icy flame palm like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. Xiao Chen's left hand formed a claw and executed the seizing the heart. An azure dragon claw appeared on his 5 fingers and shattered the icy flame palm that Baijian sent out. With boundless killing intent, Xiao Chen clawed at Baijian's chest. If Xiao Chen managed to get close to him, Baijian would die without a doubt. He would not even have the chance to speak. Baijian's complexion paled, and he felt a great panic in his heart. At this critical moment, he performed exceptionally well. He pressed his palms together, and the ice and raging fire essence in his body quickly merged. As the cold wind howled on the vast wind cloud platform, it actually blew out a hurricane containing flames. Ice and fire merged perfectly. Wave of raging ice flames. With a roar, Bai Qi's hands moved up and down, forming a right angle. The ice and fire energy beams intertwined and shot toward Xiao Chen. Baijian did not hope to injure Xiao Chen with this move. He only hoped to delay him for a few seconds, giving him the opportunity to admit defeat. However, he was disappointed. Xiao Chen did not give him any chance. His right hand was on the hilt of his saber. Xiao Chen unleashed his peak small perfection saber intent. The crystal essence surging in his body gushed out with his saber. Xiao. With the support of the saber intent, the incredibly sharp crystal saber chi became even sharper. With a cassier sound, the saber chi easily chopped the ice and fire shockwaves in half. Furthermore, it was extremely accurate, right at the point where the ice and fire merged. The crystal-like electricity leaped around the saber chi. It broke through Baijan's protective essence and left a horrifying wound on his chest. It was so deep that bones could be seen. A strong lightning-attributed essence entered the wound and poured into Baijan's meridians, causing them to explode. Under Xiao Chen's saber strike without holding back, Baijan's meridians ruptured. He was in unbearable pain. Baijan rolled on the ground as he screamed. He could not even form a complete sentence. Xiao Chen had already placed Baijan on the list of people he had to kill. However, he could not make a move now. Otherwise, he might bring trouble to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion in the future. Baijan's meridians were crippled. Even if he had spirit pills and immortal medicines, he would not be able to recover his strength in a short time. He would not be able to threaten Xiao Chen's friends. If Baijan was unlucky and could not find a spirit pill to treat his meridians, he would be crippled for life. Normally, Xiao Chen looked very peaceful, not saying a word. He rarely got angry and rarely killed people. However, dragons had reverse scales. If one touched them, one would die. Xiao Chen had a reverse scale as well. Whoever dared to threaten his friends and family would suffer a blow 100-fold, or even 1,000-fold. No matter who it was, regardless of whether they were a super genius or a great sect backing them, Xiao Chen would not hold back. Xiao. The jade pendant at Baijan's waist shot out a beam of golden light and entered Xiao Chen's jade pendant. The golden dragon, which had been impatient for a long time, immediately broke out of the jade pendant and circled above his head. The golden dragon was 15 meters long. Aside from Bai Qi and Sima Lingxian, it was no weaker than the geniuses of the other 8 noble clans. Xiao Chen sensed for a while, and discovered that the golden dragon above his head seemed to be affecting his mind unconsciously. It swept away the fatigue and exhaustion of the day, replenishing his essence, qi, and spirit. The size of the golden dragon was not surprising to Xiao Chen. However, this additional function gave Xiao Chen a pleasant surprise. How surprising! Xiao Chen's golden dragon is 15 meters long. This is his first time participating in the 5-nation youth competition. He did not obtain any luck before this. Could it be that Xiao Chen really has the strength to fight against the 8 noble clans? He is just a disciple of a small sect in the Great Qin nation. The difference between him and the 8 noble clans is too big. That might not be impossible. Think about it. From the start until now, Xiao Chen has not lost a single match in the elimination rounds or the ranking battles. He has not lost a single match or drawn a single match. He has a winning streak. Those who were thought to be able to end him always ended up losing to him in the end. His trump cards are endless. It seems like he can't use them all. There is no way to figure them out. Of those newcomers, even Chu Chaoyan and Xianyuan Zhantian, they all drew a match, ending their winning streaks. The only one with a winning streak from the start until now is Xiao Chen. That is indeed the case. I did not think about it earlier. Now that I think about it, it seems like he is the only one with a winning streak from the start until now. After all, the seeded contestants only joined midway. They do not have as many consecutive victories as Xiao Chen. The first day of the ranking battles ended with Xiao Chen's golden dragon breaking out of the jade. This final battle allowed everyone to see Xiao Chen in a new light, the contestant with the most consecutive victories among the younger generation. The long night finally passed amidst everyone's fervent anticipation. When the morning sun rose, the 14th round of the competition officially began. As the rounds progressed, many more golden dragons broke out of the jade among the 100 contestants. Several dozen golden dragons flew around in the air. Occasionally, they roared ferociously, baring their fangs and claws as they fought with each other. Slowly, Xiao Chen discovered some patterns. If the opponent's golden dragon was stronger, the more luck he absorbed. If the opponent was weaker, the amount of luck he absorbed would be negligible. For example, Sima Lingxian was simply too strong. The other contestants' golden dragons were all weaker than his. Furthermore, he did not meet any strong opponents. As a result, his golden dragon remained at about 25 meters, growing by less than a quarter. On the other hand, the golden dragons of the other noble clan disciples increased significantly. Li Tian, Wang Quan, and Yu Chenxi's golden dragons reached 23 meters. Xianyuan Zhantian's and Chu Chaoyun's golden dragons also reached 25 meters. They were only slightly behind the noble clan disciples, and would soon catch up. The one who caught up the fastest was Bai Qi. After defeating a few strong opponents, his golden dragon was already 23 meters long, only 3 meters behind Sima Lingshuan's. Sima Lingxian smiled faintly and did not care. His goal was a 33-meter-long golden dragon. He wanted to reach the prime rank and obtain overwhelming luck, becoming the only true dragon in the Sky Dome realm. No matter how these people caught up, they would all end up benefiting him in the end. They would all be defeated by him and hand over their share of luck. The 35th match, Xiao Chun vs. Fang Yunfei. This was the 25th round of the competition. In the earlier matches, Xiao Chun had not met with any strong opponents. Although he won all of them, his golden dragon only grew to 15 meters. He was still some distance away from the top geniuses. Chapter 588. Fang Yunfei was a personal disciple of the Divine Saber Gate. His saber techniques were superb as well. He had obtained a significant amount of luck. His golden dragon was more than 10 meters long. Fang Yunfei was the strongest competitor that Xiao Chun had met. If he could obtain the other party's luck, his golden dragon would increase significantly. Fang Yunfei was tall and sturdy, with a stocky back and a stocky waist. However, the thing that looked even sturdier was the huge saber in his hand. That saber was nearly as tall as he was, and it was not even as wide as a palm. It was made of 81 types of rare ores. Not only was it sharp, but it was also very tough. It weighed more than 400 kilograms. Just by looking at this weapon, one could tell that Fang Yunfei's saber techniques were firm and ferocious. He used his strength to suppress others and obtain victory. Xiao Chun, I have a request. Can you not use saber intent and exchange moves with me? As long as you do not use saber intent, no matter the result, I will admit defeat. After Fang Yunfei went up, he made a request that everyone found strange. There was a fervent light in his eyes as he eagerly hoped that Xiao Chun would agree. As long as you agree, I will immediately go and tell the referee. I only want a fair fight with you, a fight between bladesmen. I guarantee that my saber techniques will not disappoint you. In a fight between bladesmen, if one side comprehended saber intent and the other did not, the bladesman would suffer a great disadvantage. In a situation of the same cultivation, there was no chance of victory. Hence, Fang Yunfei made this request. Seeing the silent Xiao Chun, Fang Yunfei waited anxiously. Fang Yunfei was a straightforward person and did not like to speak. He would say whatever was on his mind and did not like to beat around the bush. I have not met such a person in a long time. Xiao Chun sighed in his heart. Fang Yunfei did not seek victory, but the process of the fight. As a bladesman as well, Fang Yunfei admired Xiao Chun's strength. He wanted to have a fair fight with Xiao Chun, using the intense battle to make up for the shortcomings of his saber techniques. Compared to Fang Yunfei, Xiao Chun was more anxious. After the ranking battle started, he only thought about how to increase his luck. A ripple appeared in his unchanging mental state. Even he himself did not notice it. Xiao Chun startled to his senses. He performed a cupped fist salute and said, "Thank you for thinking so highly of me. In that case, I will not use saber intent. Let's have a fair fight. You don't have to make any promises. If you win, I, Xiao Chun, can also afford to lose." As soon as he said that, the entire audience felt that it was strange. This was the final ranking battle. Winning or losing a match would affect one's final ranking. The difference in rank and the amount of luck obtained would affect a cultivator's entire life. This was not an elimination round, where one could fight a tacit battle like Xianyuan Zhantian and Chu Chaoyun, and end up with a draw. That would not affect one's points in the ranking matches. Is this Xiao Chun crazy? Fang Yunfei's luck is abundant. The golden dragon is more than 4 feet long. If he wins, his golden dragon will immediately catch up to Wang Quan and the others. That is not all. If he loses, the losses will be even worse. If the strong lose to the weak, the golden dragon will decrease significantly. Fang Yunfei is not weak either. The accumulations of the divine saber gate are not something the heavenly saber pavilion can compare to. If he does not use saber intent, it will be hard to say who will win. All the cultivators in the spectator stands could not understand. In a battle between bladesmen, if one side had saber intent, the final victory would be decided. Unexpectedly, Xiaochen did not intend to use saber intent. At this crucial moment, he gave up on a victory that was within his grasp. Did he not consider the consequences of losing? A complicated expression flashed in Fang Yunfei's eyes. He said sullenly, "Great Jin Nation's divine saber gate. Fang Yunfei, I will ask for your guidance." Zhou. After Fang Yunfei spoke, he held his huge saber with one hand. His stout body burst out with explosive energy. It was like a clump of flames that had been stored for a long time burst out at this moment, causing the air to surge. Fire Cloud Saber Technique. Fang Yunfei roared ferociously and red fiery essence condensed on his huge saber. Clumps of fiery red clouds materialized behind him, giving him a majestic aura. The wind blew. The clouds moved with the wind, gathering wind and cloud. Xiaochen instantly executed the starting stance of the lightning tribulation saber technique. A strong wind blew and clouds gathered in the surroundings as he drew the lunar shadow saber in his hand. Bang! The sabers clashed. Two completely different, but incomparably strong energies clashed. Intense sparks flew in all directions. As the wind blew, it turned into a myriad of colors. Without the support of saber intent, Xiaochen could not force his opponent back with one saber strike. After all, his opponent walked the path of ferociousness. He was good at clashing head-on. Xiaochen could only move slowly gathering his momentum. Dang, dang, dang. The two of them did not take a step back. As their saber lights danced around, they quickly attacked each other. All sorts of energy exploded in the air. It was very intimidating. Flames surged endlessly along with the storm. The two of them moved faster and faster. In a short time, they had exchanged more than 200 moves. The cultivators in the spectator stands could only see two blurry figures. An unending chain of saber lights, flames, and lightning clashing with each other. Boundless sea of fire. Fang Yunfei finished gathering his momentum. After he took 10 steps back, he materialized a hazy sea of fire. It carried a surging heat wave, and infused it into his saber technique. Then he used the ethereal and formless state of clouds to supplement it. Everywhere the saber light passed, there seemed to be fiery images everywhere. Between the real and the fake, the real and the fake. As a genius bladesman himself, Bai Qi paid a lot of attention to the two's match. When he saw Fang Yunfei's move, he nodded slightly and said, "Not bad." He knows that he cannot truly achieve the boundless sea of fire. He uses the ethereal and formless state of the clouds to create the illusion of a boundless sea of fire. However, he still managed to bring out his momentum. Let's see how Xiaochen deals with this. Xiaochen's eyes lit up as he scanned the area with his spiritual sense. With one glance, he discovered the true location of Fang Yunfei's attack. Lightning light chop. An intense electric light burst out from the clouds above and gathered on the saber's edge. It formed a dazzling and resplendent saber light as it descended from the sky and clashed with Fang Yunfei's extraordinary boundless sea of fire. As the electric light exploded, the sea of fire in the surroundings shone brightly. The illusionary fiery images vanished like smoke. Fang Yunfei revealed his true appearance in the sea of fire. Earthly lightning tribulation. After breaking his opponent's saber technique in one move, Xiaochen finally brought the lightning tribulation saber technique's power of wind and cloud to its peak. An electric whirlpool formed, and the true lightning tribulation descended. The lightning-attributed energy stored in the ground quickly surged towards the saber's edge, resonating with the thunderclouds above. This was the rage of thunder. The might of this attack far surpassed Fang Yunfei's expectations. After he received it head-on, his right hand, which held the huge saber, trembled slightly as if his entire hand had gone numb. Heavenly lightning tribulation. Xiaochen, who was in the air, turned around. His white robes fluttered in the wind and lightning. He looked like a god of thunder as he roared ferociously. the rage of the heavens descending a lightning tribulation, destroying everything. The merciless nature of the great Tao was perfectly infused into Xiao Chen's saber technique. Fang Yunfei, who was on the ground, felt fear in his heart. It was as if he had really angered the heavens, and they wanted to destroy him with a lightning tribulation. No, I cannot be affected by his aura. Otherwise, I will die for sure. Fang Yunfei shook his head violently and forcefully dispelled the fear in his heart. There was a xiao sound, and boundless flame soared up from the ground. The image of a flaming giant appeared behind him. That giant was like a holy spirit, fighting against the heavens, not fearing the heavenly might. It gathered Fang Yunfei's aura once again. The flaming figure merged with the flaming figure, and sent out a long, diagonal flaming saber chi. A heatwave surged out, burning even space. Break! Carrying the rage of the heavens, Xiao Chen shouted, and a ferocious electric light appeared on his saber. It looked like golden snakes dancing wildly as it shot out. The electric light instantly tore apart the diagonal flaming saber chi. Its momentum did not diminish, and it blasted the image behind Fang Yunfei into countless sparks. The saber slid down and Xiao Chen swung it ferociously. That huge saber, which weighed more than 200 kilograms, flew out gently, giving the impression that it was a piece of wood floating in the air. Dang! However, when the saber landed on the ground, it gave off a loud sound, correcting everyone's misconceptions. As a bladesman, he could not even hold his saber properly. This was a very embarrassing thing. However, Fang Yunfei knew that if Xiao Chen had not pulled back earlier, he would have been the one flying. That would have been even more embarrassing. Fang Yunfei revealed a bitter smile and said, "The difference is too great. Even without saber intent, your saber technique far surpasses mine. There should be one more move after the heavenly lightning tribulation, right?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "That's right. There is still the divine lightning tribulation after that." Fang Yunfei sighed softly. The rage of the heavens is already so horrifying. I wonder what the rage of the deities will be like. Many thanks for the lesson. I've lost. Fang Yunfei immediately admitted defeat and stopped fighting. Xiao Chen's 50-meter-long golden dragon in the sky immediately swooped down and swallowed up Fang Yunfei's golden dragon. As the light flickered, Xiao Chen's golden dragon quickly grew to 25 meters, rejoining the ranks of the top contenders. He won again. Unexpectedly, he did not use saber intent to defeat Fang Yunfei. Doesn't that mean that with saber intent, he would only need one move to defeat Fang Yunfei? The people in the spectator stand started discussing in soft voices. They felt that Xiao Chen's strength was even more unfathomable. It was like they would never know how strong he was. The might of the lightning tribulation is not great. I can use the summer saber technique to break it easily. I am not afraid of the heavenly lightning tribulation either. I can use the power of the autumn wind to sweep through the world and break it. If it is just these two moves, I might not even need to use the four-season saber technique. However, the divine lightning tribulation that did not appear at the end is something to be wary of. Since the start of the competition, regardless of whether Bai Qi was willing or not, Xiao Chen was already an unavoidable opponent in his path to the top three. Carrying the 25-meter-long golden dragon, Xiao Chen walked off the wind cloud platform with his head held high. As the golden dragon roared, it filled him with vigor. He quickly replenished his exhausted essence. The competition continued day by day. By the third day, 60 of the 100 rounds had already been completed. Based on the golden dragons above the contenders' heads, the crowd could roughly tell who was stronger. After 60 rounds, they concluded that there were 8 giants in this 5-nation youth competition. They were Sima Lingxian Bai Qi, Li Tianhua, Wang Quan Yu Chenxi, Xianyuan Zhantian, Xiao Chen and Chu Chaoyan. The first 4 were disciples of the 8 noble clans. The last 4 had different backgrounds. The monopoly of the 8 noble clans had been completely broken. This was because the remaining 4 had each lost 1 or 2 out of the 60 rounds. However, these 8 people had not lost a single match. All of them won. Their golden dragons were at least 23 meters long. Chapter 589. In a situation where everyone had the same number of matches, They had already lost 1 or 2 matches before the very end. The remaining 4 people of the noble clan had already lost their qualifications to fight for the top 8. Due to the intentional arrangements of the organizers, the 8 giants did not meet each other in advance. As the competition went on, the strong became stronger and the weak became weaker. The situation became more and more obvious. The strong cultivators had golden dragons circling above their heads. For example, Sima Lingxian was already 25 meters long. He was only 1 meter away from reaching the peak and obtaining all the luck of the 4 dragon veins. As for the weak cultivators like Morongchong, they had very little dragon chi in the first place. Not only could their golden dragons not break out of their jade pendants, but their luck would also be stolen. The little golden dragon in the jade pendant no longer had any luster. It was no different from a real earthworm. All the geniuses under the starry heavens gathered in the 5-nation youth competition. Who was the true dragon and who was the false dragon would be revealed at this moment. No matter what pride one brought, no matter where one came from, this place did not care about one's background or clan. It only cared about the sword in one's hand and the saber in one's hand. Whoever was strong would obtain luck. If one was weak, they would be stolen by other geniuses, weakening their luck. Even the people of the 8 noble clans were no exception. The 49th match, Noble Clans by Qi vs Nangong Ziyue. At this moment, the sun was setting in the west. It looked like it would soon turn dark. After this match, the competition for today would probably end. Nangong Ziyue had only lost 2 matches since the start of the competition. The first was in the elimination round, where she lost to Yu Chenxi. The second was in the ranking matches, where she lost to another noble clan disciple, Li Tianhua. However, the 2 matches were not one-sided. Furthermore, her opponents were not ordinary cultivators. Although she had lost 2 matches, the crowd did not underestimate her strength. They felt that she could still fight for the top 10. The golden dragon above Nangong Ziyue's head was 23 meters long, slightly shorter than the golden dragons of the 8 giants. Xiao Bai Qi leaped off his spectator stand and landed on the arena. The golden dragon circling in the sky descended and hovered above Bai Qi's head. The 20-meter-long golden dragon bared its fangs and claws as it glared at Nangong Ziyue's clearly smaller golden dragon. Under the pressure of its aura, Nangong Ziyue's golden dragon cowered, not daring to be impudent. When Baijian saw this scene, he smiled gently and said amiably, "Nangong Ziyue, you are not a match for me. You should just admit defeat and preserve your strength for the next matches." Nangong Ziyue frowned slightly and said sullenly, "We will know if it is true or not after we fight. Li Tianhua defeated me only because his state countered mine. Do you really think that I am someone you can defeat easily?" Bai Qi's expression was neither happy nor angry. He said calmly, "Then make your move. As for Li Tianhua, I have never considered him an opponent." Walala! The sound of flowing water rang out quietly, and the artistic conception of mountains and rivers quietly appeared. Among the overlapping mountains, a river flowed smoothly. Nangong Ziyue stood on the flowing water, drifting with the waves. Her legs did not move, but the mountains moved behind her. Nangong Ziyue's graceful figure gave off a gentle charm. She hid the artistic conception of mountains and rivers in her heart, as she moved quickly towards Bai Shuehe in a strange manner. Mountain and river hiding the heart. At the start of this round, Nangong Ziyue had not been able to execute it naturally and smoothly. She could only unleash it at the crucial moment. However, after a few rounds, she had become increasingly familiar with this mountain and river hiding the heart. If Nangong Ziyue ran into Yu Chenxi again, the victor would be hard to predict. This was also why Nangong Ziyue dared to challenge Bai Shuehe. Bang! When Nangong Ziyue arrived before Baijian, the calm and natural Nangong Ziyue suddenly made a move. When she punched, the power of mountains and rivers that had been brewing in her heart for a long time erupted. The fist wind surged and space trembled. The might of this ordinary punch actually contained half the might of Nangong Ziyue's trump card, the mountain and river breaking fist. Bai Qi was slightly stunned. His expression was somewhat astonished. He had not expected Nangong Ziyue to have improved so much in such a short period of time. If Nangong Ziyue continued to preserve her strength, She would have to put in more effort to defeat her opponent. Never mind, I have already come this far. It is time to use the four-season saber technique. Nangong Ziyue is now qualified to use it. After Bai Qi made up his mind, he slowly placed his right hand on his saber's hilt and circulated the first move of the four-season saber technique. Splash! Splash! Something strange happened. The clear sound of flowing water came from behind Bai Qi. When he drew his saber, the power of the cycle of seasons surged out. Suddenly, the distance between him and Nangong Ziyue lengthened. No matter how fast Nangong Ziyue was, she could not catch up to Bai Qi's punch, which could shatter mountains. Nangong Ziyue remained 1 meter away from Bai Qi. The fist wind caused his clothes and hair to flutter continuously. Xiu. When Bai Qi drew his saber completely, the power of the cycle of seasons erupted. The distance between Bai Qi and Nangong Ziyue immediately widened. It was not that Bai Qi retreated. Instead, it was that the power of the cycle of seasons shattered the power of mountains and rivers that Nangong Ziyue had been building up in her heart for a long time. Thus her punch broke on its own. Leisurely spring water, suddenly warm, then cold. A river flowed down from the horizon. The water was clear and ethereal. Bai Qi hacked at Nangong Ziyue with his saber. Taking the state of spring water and containing the power of the cycle of seasons, a river like saber qi quickly flew at Nangong Ziyue, changing between warm and cold. Amid the mountains and rivers, Nangong Ziyue felt a huge saber qi carrying the power of the cycle of seasons sweeping over, increasing the pressure on her. That saber qi was as warm as jade at one moment and bone-chilling in the next. It was hard to fathom. As Nangong Ziyue hesitated, she did not know how to break this move. No matter what trick he played, it was just a strand of saber qi. Immortal mountains and rivers. Break for me. Nangong Ziyue could not guess whether the saber intent was hot or cold. She directly materialized the power of mountains and rivers. One punch was a mountain, the other a river. The mountains and rivers froze, preparing to use force to break technique. Bang! When the saber qi arrived, it was like the heavenly river flowed in reverse. The power of the world surged over. Nangong Ziyue's expression immediately changed. She wanted to use force to break technique. However, she was horrified to discover that the energy contained in this saber qi was much stronger than her immortal mountains and rivers. She could not clash head-on with it. When the state of her fist shattered, Nangong Ziyue vomited a mouthful of blood. She used the power of mountains and rivers to quickly retreat among the mountains and rivers, resolving the energy contained in the saber qi. Rumble! Rumble! Instantly, waves surged and the mountains trembled. The energy contained in the saber qi was very strong. Just the remnant waves caused the mysterious phenomenon of mountains and rivers that Nangong Ziyue materialized to show signs of instability. Is this the power of the four-season saber technique? How strong! Unexpectedly, it nearly broke Nangong Ziyue's entire state of mountains and rivers in one move. Only Nangong Ziyue can continue. When the other cultivators encountered this saber strike, any state they had would crumble immediately. Earlier he broke Nangong Ziyue's attack in half a move. The moment he drew his saber, Nangong Ziyue's attack crumbled. Based on this Bai Qi is even stronger than Li Tianhua. In this five-nation youth competition, he is the person most likely to defeat Sima Lingxian. The other noble clan disciples are no match for him. When the many cultivators in the spectator stands saw this startling saber strike, the four-season saber technique that they had been waiting for finally appeared. Everyone's hearts immediately surged. Their faces flushed red, and their emotions surged. You are still not willing to admit defeat? Bai Qi frowned slightly, appearing somewhat angry. His saber trembled slightly, and a misty saber intent started accumulating. He said sullenly, 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes. First saber strike, second saber strike, third saber strike, fourth saber strike. Bai Qi stood rooted to the ground, not moving at all. Then he executed another strong martial technique. As the saber light danced, a boundless light spread out. This was because the saber qi was too dense, giving off a faint light. Bai Qi's peak small perfection saber intent shot out together with the saber qi towards the mountains that Nangong Ziyue materialized. Bang! 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 With the support of the saber intent, the might of the 18 heaven-breaking saber strikes reached its peak. Every time Bai Qi sent out a saber strike, a mountain peak would shatter. After the 18th saber strike, the mountains and rivers were all destroyed. The state of mountains and rivers that Nangong Ziyue was so proud of had been completely destroyed by Bai Qi in an extremely cruel manner, leaving nothing behind. The mountains could no longer be seen, and the rivers could no longer be seen. Only the boundless saber light and the misty saber intent remained, resounding in all directions. It was as Bai Qi had said before. As long as he chopped down the mountains and shattered the rivers, no matter how strong a state was, it would just be a decoration before absolute strength. Roar! When Nangong Ziyue was defeated, the golden dragon above her head cried out miserably. Bai Qi's golden dragon had devoured 1.5 meters of its length. Its luster dimmed significantly, and it looked weak and listless. On the other hand, the golden dragon above Bai Qi bared its fangs and brandished its claws, roaring ferociously. Its eyes were spirited, and its aura was very ferocious. It was now 25 meters long, catching up to Sima Lingxuan's 25 meters. As Xiao Chen recalled Bai Qi's four-season saber technique, he entered deep thought. This was different from what he had imagined. Originally, when Bai Qi learned the four-season saber technique, he would have comprehended it on his own. Now it looked like he was wrong. Bai Qi's path was the same as the Bai clan's ancestors. It was probably after Bai Shueha successfully comprehended the four-season saber technique, he passed on his comprehensions and experiences to his descendants. Now that he had a rough idea, Xiao Chen muttered to himself, "If I follow the path of my predecessors, naturally, I will be able to take many detours, and it will be much easier." However, this four-season saber technique is different from other martial techniques. It does not have a fixed state. Comprehending it on one's own is the most suitable. Simply put, if Bai Qi only followed Bai Shueha's path, he would lose miserably when he met Xiao Chen. There would not be any surprises. However, Lu Suifeng, who was at the side, was astonished. He was also a person who practiced the saber. He could feel the vast might of that leisurely spring water more clearly than others. He sighed and said, "What a strong saber technique." No wonder others say that the four-season saber technique is the strongest martial technique under heaven ranked. It truly lives up to its reputation. The surrounding elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion all nodded to themselves. Even if it were them, they would not be able to turn the situation around. They would only suffer a crushing defeat. Chapter 590. The first elder Jiangqi asked, "Xiao Chen, how is your practice of the Lightning Tribulation Saber Technique's final move, Divine Lightning Tribulation?" Xiao Chen thought for a while before replying, "I do not dare to compare myself to the ancestor. However, I can still easily bring out 70 to 80% of its might." Jiangqi smiled and nodded. Then he said with some regret, "The Lightning Tribulation Saber Technique was created by our sect's ancestor. If you could comprehend the state of wind, the state of cloud, and the state of thunder, you might be able to compete with this Bai Qi." Haha. However, it is fine. Being able to enter the top 10 is the best result the Heavenly Saber Pavilion has achieved in the past few thousand years. Xiao Chen, don't be too depressed. Xiao Chen smiled gently and held the lunar shadow saber in his hand. He did not say anything. Match 50. Sima Lingxian vs. Gong Yangyu. This was the 92nd round of the Five-Nation Youth Competition. This match was the final match of the day. The two participants from the previous Five-Nation Youth Competition would fight each other. This made everyone somewhat excited. Gong Yangyu is pretty strong. His golden dragon is 23 meters long. He has only lost 3 matches in the ranking matches. Even if he loses this match, he still has a high chance of getting into the top 10. I wonder how much of Sima Lingxuan's strength he can force out? Sima Lingxian has been winning too easily. Indeed. Just his oppressive self-confidence is enough to make one feel suffocated. How can one have the confidence to fight him? Without a doubt, everyone could predict the result of this match. The only thing they were uncertain of was how much of Sima Lingxuan's strength Gong Yangyu could force out. After all, no matter what, Gong Yangyu's strength was clear for all to see. This was especially so for that tossing heaven and earth. It could even shatter space. Several giants did not dare to receive it head-on. How would Sima Lingxian deal with this move? In the wind cloud platform, Sima Lingxian wore long robes. There was not much expression on his handsome face. The self-confidence in his chest seemed to be one with the world. When one looked at him, there seemed to be a faint glow on his body. It flickered constantly. With one glance, one could tell that he was extraordinary. Under the pressure of Sima Lingxuan's confidence, Gong Yangyu took a deep breath and expelled the negative thoughts in his heart. Without saying anything more, he swung his black staff around and walked towards Sima Lingxian. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, 7 steps. With every step Gong Yangyu took, an afterimage would appear on the ground. Each afterimage held the staff in a different posture. By the time Gong Yangyu finished taking 7 steps, his aura had already reached its peak. The pressure that Sima Lingxian gave Xiaochen earlier was swept away. His gaze turned sharp as he swung his staff around like a dragon or snake dancing in the wind. This was Gong Yangyu's specialty, Everlasting Universe. By combining 7 ultimate attacks, he could suppress his opponent with absolute offensive power. Back then, even Xiaochen didn't face this move head-on because its power was too great, and it wasn't worth it to face it head-on. Sima Lingxuan's expression remained calm as he looked at the staff strike that could shatter mountains. Then he took a step forward. 1 step. Just 1 step. And the situation on the field was immediately turned around. A boundless strong wind blew from Sima Lingxian. The clouds in the sky churned endlessly. As the wind blew and the clouds churned, a vast state of kingship erupted from Sima Lingxuan's body and soared into the sky. Tyrannical, supreme, undefeatable, absolute. All sorts of auras of kingship came from Sima Lingxuan's body. Unexpectedly, the state he comprehended was the state of kingship. As the saying went, everything under the heavens belongs to the king. Unexpectedly, Sima Lingxian made this state of kingship his main state. After Gong Yangyu took 7 steps, the momentum of heaven and earth that he gathered was immediately suppressed by Sima Lingxuan's one gentle step. Kassier. Sima Lingxian grasped his sword hilt with his right hand and drew it. Riding on this momentum of kingship, he displayed his sharpness wantonly, giving off an undefeatable aura that could sweep through the world. The sword and staff clashed, and countless cracks immediately appeared on the wind cloud platform under the two. The two strong forces clashed continuously. Gong Yangyu clenched his teeth and endured. Unexpectedly, he did not retreat immediately. Wang, wang, wang. The tip of Sima Lingxuan's sword trembled, and a vast sword intent poured out. The might of this sword increased explosively. Gong Yangyu was instantly no match for it. He took 9 steps back and vomited a large mouthful of blood. Sovereign descending. Sima Lingxian shouted and took another step forward. The vast state of kingship was like an ancient mountain pressing down on Xiaochen. When Sima Lingxian swung his sword, it was like a sovereign descending. The surrounding wind-attributed essence quickly surged towards the tip of the sword like it was paying homage to the king. With the boundless strong wind pouring in, this sword was unimaginably fast. Gong Yangyu could only rely on his senses to block with his staff across his chest. Bang! Gong Yangyu had just made his move, and had yet to infuse his essence into a defensive stance when the sword struck his staff, splitting it in half. When the sword wind blew, Gong Yangyu flew backward like a broken kite. He crashed into the wind cloud barrier and bounced heavily before landing on the ground. Gong Yangyu knelt on one knee. Under his tattered clothes, horrifying sword wounds spread all over his chest. The sword intent hidden in the wounds had not faded yet. His wounds seemed to be growing more severe. Gong Yangyu knew that he had lost. He had barely managed to block 2 moves. The difference was too great. He smiled bitterly to himself. He did not know if there was anyone who could defeat him in this 5-nation youth competition. My skills are inferior. Gong Yangyu admits defeat. Gong Yangyu stood up and chose to admit defeat. Sima Lingxian sheathed his sword. After the golden dragon above his head swallowed for a while, it grew to 8 and 7 inches long. Now it was less than half an inch long, and would be 23 meters long. This is probably Sima Lingxuan's true strength. Unexpectedly, He comprehended the state of kingship from the state of wind and cloud, which is higher than any other attributed state. Compared to 3 years ago, Sima Lingxuan's strength has increased at a horrifying rate. I finally know why he is not afraid of the four-season saber technique. When he executes a powerful sword technique with the state of kingship, it is sufficient to resist the power of the cycle of seasons. However, we will only know what will happen after they fight. The two of them have not used their full strength yet. The battle between the giants tomorrow will definitely be interesting to watch. However, I still favor Sima Lingxian. He has only revealed the tip of the iceberg. Bai Qi has revealed at least 60% of his strength. In the final match of this round, Sima Lingxian finally revealed the absolute strength of the top-seeded participant. Gong Yangyu, who was ranked in the top 10 of the previous five-nation youth competition, lost to Sima Lingxian in 2 moves, unable to resist at all. Li Tianhua looked at the golden dragon above Sima Lingxuan's head and shook his head. He smiled bitterly and said, "It is truly a tragedy to be in the same generation as him. It seems like all the stars in the sky are on his head. We are just supporting characters." Xianyuan Zhantian's unruly face revealed a grave expression. After a while, he smiled gently and said, "The state of kingship is really coincidental." The 92 rounds of matches were already over, but the 8 giants had not fought yet. In that case, in the final 8 rounds tomorrow, the 8 of them would have to fight each other. From the start of the ranking matches until now, the 8 giants had not lost a single match. Sima Lingxian, Li Tianhua, Bai Qi, Wang Quan, Chu Chaoyan, Xianyuan Zhantian, Yu Chenxi, and Xiaochen were tied for first place. However, since ancient times, there had been no first place in literature and no second place in martial arts. How could there be a situation where 8 people were first? In the battle between the giants tomorrow, there would definitely be a victor and a loser among the 8. The true dragon ranking would also be decided. Who could rank first and obtain the luck of the world, becoming the main character of this era. Before the sun set tomorrow, everything would come to an end. The age of geniuses would officially begin at that moment. The long night finally passed amidst the cheers of the crowd. The wind cloud platform was packed with people. Their voices were loud. Before the matches started, the atmosphere had already heated up. Everyone was waiting for the moment when the giants would fight. They were waiting for the moment when the true heroes reached the peak. They wanted to see who was the main character of this era. First match, Lu Xiaoyan vs. Lin Fei. The first match of the 93rd round officially started. However, it was not the anticipated match between the giants, which disappointed everyone. However, the 2 people in the wind cloud platform were experts of their own domains. Their matches would not be boring. When facing the genius bladesman Lin Fei, Lu Xiaoyan did not get careless. He would not make the same mistake as he did against Chu Chaoyan. He used his full power from the start. A cold wind howled, and frost instantly covered the wind cloud platform. As Lu Xiaoyan sent out his sword intent, snowflakes drifted down. The various powerful techniques of the drifting snow sword sect were perfectly executed in Lu Xiaoyan's hands. At this moment, Lin Fei was much more mature than when he first started the five-nation youth competition. There was no longer any arrogance in Lin Fei's eyes. Instead, there was only seriousness and caution. He was clearly enduring. Dang, dang, dang. Saber lights shot out everywhere and sword images filled the air. Sword chi and saber chi moved about wantonly. The strength that the two displayed was equal. In terms of saber intent and sword intent, they did not give way to each other. However, Lu Xiaoyan's state of ice was stronger than Lin Fei's state of earth. Based on the current situation, Lu Xiaoyan held a slight advantage. However, this was only temporary. Everyone knew that Lin Fei still had not used the earth vein saber technique. If Lu Xiaoyan could block that unpredictable earth vein saber technique, he would be confident of obtaining victory. If he could not block it, the victor would be hard to predict. Xiao. As the saber hummed, Lin Fei, who had been silent for a long time, finally found the most suitable opportunity to execute the earth vein saber technique. A strand of cold saber chi exploded the ice on the ground and quickly headed for Lu Xiaoyan's chest. Lu Xiaoyan smiled gently, not flustered at all. He said, "I have been waiting for you for a long time." Absolute ice shadow sword. The surrounding temperature plummeted. Lu Xiaoyan's upper body trembled. Before everyone's shocked gazes, he split into two. Two strands of sword light flickered. One blocked the attack from Lin Fei's main body while the other blocked the saber chi shooting out from the ground. When the two figures merged back together, Lin Fei's eyes widened. When the two figures merged back together, a cold chill turned into a snow-white sword chi and shot out from the sword, forcing Lin Fei back. With the Earth Vein saber technique broken, Lin Fei could not gain the upper hand with his saber intent. His state was also slightly weaker. After 100 moves, Lin Fei could only helplessly admit defeat. Lu Xiaoyan sheathed his sword and said softly, "Thank you for letting me win." This battle had proven Lu Xiaoyan's reputation. His miserable defeat at the hands of Chu Chaoyan was not because he was weak, or because the disparity was too great. It was because he had been careless. Chapter 591. Second match, Feng Hua vs. Lu Chang. Just like that, another 5 matches passed. None of them were battles between giants, causing the cultivators who were anxiously waiting to watch the battles between giants to feel a sense of irritation. Just as this frustration reached its peak, the referee in the arena finally called out the names of the giants. 12th match, Eastern Sea's Little Dragon King, Xianyuan Zhantian vs. the noble clans Li Tianhua. The entire arena immediately erupted into an uproar. It's finally time for the giants to fight. The 8 giants only have 8 matches left. They all have the same number of points. Every match will determine their final ranking, so they will definitely do their best. Indeed, at this moment, they cannot hide their strength. Otherwise, if they lose, they might lose the chance to fight for the first rank. Xianyuan Zhantian vs. Li Tianhua. Both of their strengths are unfathomable. I wonder who will win. One is a coiling dragon of the continent, and the other is a flood dragon of the Eastern Sea. This can be considered a fight between 2 dragons. Haha. Everyone's gazes focused on the wind cloud platform. All sorts of discussions rang out. When all the voices merged together, it was very noisy. In the crowd, Xiaochen also looked over. These 2 people were worthy of being called giants, especially Xianyuan Zhantian. Xiaochen felt that Xianyuan Zhantian's strength was much more horrifying than he showed. Xianyuan Zhantian was one of his strongest opponents. After the 2 giants ascended the wind cloud platform, the noisy discussions quickly stopped. Everyone stared at the wind cloud platform. The 2 of them stood in a corner of the arena and looked at each other. Their sharp auras clashed intensely in the air. Before they even made a move, strong winds blew continuously. Li Tianhua smiled gently and said, "I have long heard that there is an absolute genius in the Eastern Boundless Sea, known as the Eastern Sea's Little Dragon King. Now that I see him, he truly lives up to his reputation." Xianyuan Zhantian held his heavenly war halberd and remained silent. He knew that the other party still had something to say. Indeed, Li Tianhua stopped smiling. His gaze became as sharp as a sword. He said sullenly, "Unfortunately, this is the Tianwu continent, not the Boundless Sea. There is no water here. What can you do?" Xianyuan Zhantian's expression did not change. He said indifferently, "If you really think that way, you will probably suffer a miserable defeat." Their words clashed with each other, and their auras refused to give in to each other. Immediately, the 2 of them were filled with the smell of gunpowder, as if they would explode at any moment. Boom. After a long moment of silence, when the atmosphere had reached its pinnacle, the 2 of them suddenly moved at the same time. 2 blurry silhouettes crossed each other in the air. Their speed was as fast as lightning. Everyone could vaguely see 2 dragon-shaped gases entangling and tearing at each other in the air. Li Tianhua's spear transformed into a coiling dragon, known as the true dragon of the land. There was also the flood dragon transformed from the heavenly battle halberd, known as the overlord of the sea and the king of the abyss. Bang bang bang. As the spear and halberd clashed, a thunderous boom resounded on the stage. As the flood dragon soared up and down, the sound of seawater rang out as it moved. The coiling dragon stood firmly on the ground. When it was still, it was like a towering mountain, not trembling. When it moved, it was like lava erupting, destroying the world. The two of them used the special characteristics of the flood dragon and the coiling dragon to infuse into their martial techniques, bringing them out to their fullest. The state of the battle made everyone sigh in amazement. It was like there were really two dragons fighting on the stage. However, no matter what, the coiling dragon was on land. After more than 100 moves, Xianyuan Zhantian's overwhelming attacks crumbled. On the other hand, Li Tianhua's counterattacks caused Xianyuan Zhantian to suffer a small disadvantage. The situation did not look good for him. Haha! What Eastern Sea's little dragon king? You are only SOSO. Receive my double dragon playing with a pearl. Now that Li Tianhua had the upper hand, he laughed loudly. His spear moved left and right, forming two indistinguishable spear images. Each of the spears materialized a ferocious coiling dragon. The instant the spear images merged, the two coiling dragons roared ferociously and charged over. Based on the ferocious look in the coiling dragon's eyes, they clearly treated Xianyuan Zhantian as a toy. Xianyuan Zhantian smiled gently and scattered the dragon images circling his war halberd. He said sullenly, "Two false dragons, do you really think of yourselves as true dragons? Today, even if you are a true dragon, you will still have to coil up." Bang! The tip of the heavenly war halberd struck the wind cloud platform heavily. Cracks immediately appeared on the flat platform. Countless strands of dragon chi leaked out, and dragon roars resounded endlessly. A vast sea appeared behind Xianyuan Zhantian. The blue waves stretched as far as the eye could see. As Xianyuan Zhantian stood on the sea, a state of kingship suddenly burst out from his body. The waves surged into the sky, and 18 pillars of water shot up. The state of kingship soared into the sky. The king of the sea. He actually comprehended the state of kingship as well? When Li Tianhua saw this scene, he could not help but reveal a flustered expression. Ha ha ha. Lie down for me. Xianyuan Zhantian laughed maniacally and thrust his hands forward. The two coiling dragons, which had been toying with him, suddenly turned around. The two coiling dragons, which were originally toying with him, were immediately pressed down on the vast sea, letting out miserable cries. "Just two little worms and you dare to show off before me? Die!" Xianyuan Zhantian shouted ferociously. His thick eyebrows knitted together tightly, and his face filled with rage. He squeezed the dragon heads with both hands. Kasie! There was a faint scarlet light. Xianyuan Zhantian broke the heads of the two coiling dragons made of essence. Xianyuan Zhantian held one dragon head in each hand, and casually tossed it aside. Li Tianhua's double dragon playing with pearl was destroyed just like that. Li Tianhua's expression turned sullen. He clenched his teeth and said, "Good, good, good. How dare you humiliate me like this? Xianyuan Zhantian, I do not care if you are the Eastern Sea's king. Now that we are in the Tianwu continent, I, Li Tianhua, will beat you up into a worm." Li Tianhua shouted loudly and exerted strength in his abdomen. Strange sounds came from his throat, and the rumbling sound waves spread out from his mouth. They formed storm-like ripples, causing the wind cloud platform to tremble continuously. Unexpectedly, Li Tianhua used his body of flesh and blood to roar like a coiling dragon. The hundreds of thousands of cultivators in the spectator stands all felt their scalps go numb. That sound wave seemed to penetrate into their minds, making them feel a resolute rage. Li Tianhua looked like a ferocious coiling dragon. As he walked, cracks appeared on the ground. Strands of dragon chi soared up. However, the dragon roar contained in the dragon chi was completely suppressed by his roar. Coiling dragon rage, heaven falls and earth rends. Li Tianhua held his spear and pointed it at the sky. His spear flickered with light, materializing the power of a coiling dragon. It seemed like it wanted to shatter the sky and earth, to crush Xianyuan Zhantian, the ruler of the four seas, into a meat patty. Xianyuan Zhantian's lips curled up in a mocking expression. He snorted coldly and said, "How foolish! An insignificant ordinary dragon dares to compete with me?" Xianyuan Zhantian grabbed the heavenly war halberd that he had stabbed into the wind cloud platform with his right hand. Then he roared loudly, and a vast state of kingship surged out from his chest and throat. Bang! 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 The golden sound wave contained the rage of a king as it clashed with Li Tianhua's coiling dragon rage. Kasie, Kase. Crunching sounds rang out continuously. The sound wave that Li Tianhua sent out was all shattered. Ripples spread out in the air, forming chaotic ripples that caused the entire space to appear blurry and hazy. The roars of the two giants created such a mysterious phenomenon. The cultivators in the spectator stands were all filled with praise when they saw this. Coiling dragon rage, blood splashes the mountains and rivers. Holding the heavenly war halberd, Xianyuan Zhantian clashed with Li Tianhua once again, supported by the state of kingship. When he attacked, he knocked back his opponent by 100 meters. After knocking back Li Tianhua with one move, Xianyuan Zhantian laughed loudly and quickly took a few steps forward. With every step he took, waves surged up and down, materializing the boundless momentum of a vast ocean. Defeat! 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 Waves surged into the sky. Xianyuan Zhantian's every move was accompanied by the vast state of kingship, forcing Li Tianhua into a retreat. Damn it! Blood leaked out of a corner of Li Tianhua's lips. He revealed an expression of dissatisfaction in his eyes. He was a true dragon, unrivaled on land. He should have been able to easily defeat Xianyuan Zhantian. However, who could have imagined that Xianyuan Zhantian would comprehend his own state of kingship from the unending state of water? Turning into the ruler of the four seas, he managed to overcome his disadvantage. In the final 8 rounds, if one lost, one would lose the right to fight for the first rank. Li Tianhua roared loudly. I am not satisfied. 9 dragons swallowing the heavens. 9 majestic ancient coiling dragons appeared together with Li Tianhua's spear light. They bared their fangs and roared maniacally. Ha 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 ha, how laughable. You are just an ordinary dragon and you dare to speak of swallowing the heavens? Li Tianhua, you are not qualified. I am the ruler of the four seas, the son of the yellow sky. Today, I will represent the heavens to punish you. Xianyuan Zhantian revealed an expression of disdain. He laughed loudly, and the vast ocean behind him soared up. 9 dragon images appeared on the heavenly war halberd as well. However, those dragon images were deeply carved into the halberd. The vast heavenly might turned into the state of kingship. The halberd gave off a bright golden light. Every strand of golden light was formed by the pure state of kingship. It was even stronger than Yu Chenxi's morning sun fist. Xianyuan Zhantian swung his right hand forward, holding the end of the heavenly war halberd with one hand. He swept out with an unparalleled aura, and the 9 ancient coiling dragons shattered. Xianyuan Zhantian took another step forward, moving to a blind spot in Li Tianhua's defense. Then he switched the heavenly war halberd to his left hand and flicked it forward. Li Tianhua was sent flying like a sandbag. Bang! 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 Although it looked like a gentle flick, the force contained in it was startling. Blood leaked out of Li Tianhua's mouth. His clothes tore and eventually turned into dust. The crowd was dumbfounded. As they looked at the godlike Xianyuan Zhantian, they felt a sense of worship in their hearts. This state of kingship was no weaker than Sima Lingshuan's. Victory, Xianyuan Zhantian. You have gained another 2 points. The referee's calm voice rang out, pulling the crowd's attention back to reality. They saw that Li Tianhua's 23-meter-long golden dragon had dimmed significantly. It had shrunk by 3 meters, becoming a second-rate dragon. After defeating a major character like Li Tianhua, Xianyuan Zhantian's golden dragon gave off a bright light. It grew to 23 meters, no weaker than Bai Qi's. Chapter 592. This is the strength of a true giant. How unfortunate for Li Tianhua. In the end, he is not a true dragon of the continent. Finally, there is one more person who can compete with Sima Lingxian. Of the 8 giants, only 7 remain. Let's see how many giants will fall in this round. Basically, as long as one loses a match, they will lose their qualifications to fight for the top. In the last few rounds, the number of people who can reach the top will shrink. Xianyuan Zhantian strode forward with his head held high. He ignored Li Tianhua, who was lying on the ground with an expression of dissatisfaction and rage. Next round, Xiao Chun vs. Wang Quan. The referee on the Wind Cloud platform announced the names of the 2 sides in the next match. The The cultivators in the spectator stands, who were immersed in the earlier match, immediately burst into an uproar. Awesome! Another giant battle. Although Wang Quan is clearly weaker than Bai Qi and the others, his opponent is Xiao Chen. The result of this match is hard to predict. That's right. Earlier, Wang Quan used many moves to defeat Gong Yangyu. However, he was able to defeat Lin Fei in one move. He is stronger than Xiao Chen. Based on the strength that he revealed, Wang Quan should be stronger than Xiao Chen. Although the 8 giants were ranked first, the crowd could still use the strength that they revealed to determine who was stronger. Naturally, Sima Lingxian and Bai Qi were ranked first. Xianyuan Zhantian and Chu Chaoyan were ranked second. Yu Chenxi, Li Tianhua, and Wang Quan were ranked third. Xiao Chen was ranked last. However, no matter what, this was just a guess. Who was stronger and who was weaker could only be determined after a fight. On the Wind Cloud platform, Wang Quan held the handle of the Dragon Fiend whip in his right hand, and held the whip in his left hand. As he looked at the white-robed Xiao Chen, he did not rush to make a move. A deep light flashed in Wang Quan's eyes. After thinking for a while, he said, "White-robed bladesman Xiao Chen, the only cultivator to reach the 8th floor of the ancient desolate tower in the past 1,000 years. Actually, I have heard of you long ago. You are very strong. However, your weakness prevents you from reaching the top. Do you know what your weakness is?" Although Wang Quan's voice was not loud, the cultivators in the spectator stands still heard him clearly. Naturally, they had heard of the ancient desolate tower before. When they saw Xiao Chen's calm expression, shock filled their eyes. Unexpectedly, this white-robed bladesman had such a glorious past despite his silent consecutive victories. He was too low-key. Unexpectedly, he had managed to reach the 8th floor of the ancient desolate tower. Just based of this, his background was already comparable to that of the heirs of the 8 noble clans. Xiao Chen looked at Wang and said interestedly, "Xiao Wang of Wang. Xiao Desoff of desolate descend Xiao. Of Tianoff, of Xiao, of Desi's of Dao of Chen, Xiao of." When Xiao Chen heard this, he was slightly stunned. However, his expression did not change. Wang Quan was right. Xiao Chen's cultivation was indeed too low. Even the weakest of the 8 giants was a great perfection half-step martial monarch. The stronger ones were peak consummation half-step martial monarchs. As for Xiao Chen, he was only a small perfection half-step martial monarch. However, this was not a problem. The Purple Thunder Divine Incantation was a supreme cultivation technique of immortal cultivators. It was comparable to a heaven-ranked cultivation technique of cultivators. Xiao Chen's essence was abundant and dense. He could only be stronger than those people. Unless those people had already opened their sea of consciousness and started to use their mental energy to refine quintessence, it would be somewhat problematic. Of course, that was all there was to it. An expression of understanding flashed on Wang Quan's face. He continued, "You have figured out the problem, right?" "That's right. As far as I know, Bai Qi already opened his sea of consciousness 3 months ago. Now 1/5 of the essence in his body has probably been refined into quintessence. Sima Lingxian is even more incredible. He already opened his sea of consciousness half a year ago." Xiao Chen's expression remained calm. He could tell that the other party was trying to break his mental state. He interrupted. "Let's cut to the chase. About 1/10 of your essence should have been refined into quintessence, right? You can try and see if I can reach the top." After Xiao Chen's words hit the nail on the head, Wang Quan's expression sank. He smiled coldly and said, "The strength of quintessence is not something you can imagine. Originally, I wanted you to back off. However, since you want to fight, I can only grant your wish." Xiao Chen released the coiled dragon fiend whip with his left hand, and infused his quintessence into it. The soft whip instantly seemed to come to life. It tore a small crack in space as it descended towards Xiao Chen. As the whip slid down, the tiny spatial crack rapidly closed. Clearly, although the whip could break through the void, it was still a little forceful. Pa! The speed at which the dragon fiend whip descended was as fast as lightning, as swift as a rabbit. With a schwa sound, it shattered the afterimage that Xiao Chen left behind. Then, the whip landed on the ground. A crack immediately appeared on the wind cloud platform. Boundless dragon chi spread out. A casual whip possessed such might, flabbergasting everyone. A strange look flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He turned around and executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art, moving quickly around the wind cloud platform, dodging the whip's sharpness. There were very few people in the Tianwu continent who could use a whip. This was because the whip technique was too difficult to practice. It was a test of talent. However, once someone reached great perfection, they would be very difficult to deal with, just like Wang Quan before Xiaoqin. Wang Quan brought out the unpredictable characteristics of the whip technique to its limits. Then he used his quintessence to supplement it. Unexpectedly, Xiaoqin kept retreating, unable to find a good counterattack. Indeed, essence cannot compare to quintessence. The difference is too great. This Wang Quan actually opened his sea of consciousness. This time, Xiaoqin is going to lose for sure. How unfortunate. He did not have enough time to grow. The scions are all 2 or 3 years older than him. Otherwise, he would have started refining his quintessence as well. Cultivation is indeed his weakness. No matter how good his techniques are, there is nothing he can do about it. As the spectators watched Xiaoqin dodge left and right, they all felt pity for him, feeling that it was not worth it. Hehe. White-robed bladesman, didn't you already comprehend saber intent? Your saber techniques have also reached great perfection. Why do you not even dare to draw your saber? As Wang Quan held the dragon fiend whip, he had a faint smile on his face as he brandished it. At one moment, it was as soft as a venomous snake coming out of its hole. At another moment, it was as hard as 1,000 cold mountains. The dragon fiend whip was like an extra arm in Wang Quan's hand. Wang Quan was very adept at switching between hard and soft. He executed all sorts of martial techniques that could only be executed with the whip. They rained down on Xiaoqin like a torrential storm. As the whip moved, it formed an impenetrable light screen, forcing Xiaoqin back step by step. The quintessence infused into the dragon fiend whip raised the might of this light screen to the limit. As the whip images flew around, it seemed like they sliced space apart. Wang Quan glanced at the wind cloud barrier not far behind Xiaoqin. He smiled coldly and said, "Are you still not going to draw your saber? Netherworld demonic whip." Wang Quan swung his wrist thrice in the air. In that instant, the 2-meter-long dragon fiend whip sent out thousands of whip images. They turned into countless sinister and horrifying evil spirits from other worlds. They danced around chaotically, looking like the 9 layers of purgatory. There was no way back. If he went forward, it would be a purgatory made up of whip images. Wang Quan was forcing Xiaoqin to clash head-on with him. Since there was no way to retreat and no way to advance, then he would fight. Xiaoqin stopped and rooted himself to the ground. He stood firmly on the wind cloud platform like an ancient tree. An intense storm blew from the front, causing his clothes and hair to flutter. However, his body did not move at all. He had a prideful air, not fearing this purgatory. Even more so, he did not fear the quintessence on the whip images. Xiaoqin grasped the saber hilt with his right hand, and slowly drew the lunar shadow saber by an inch. As a light flickered, his saber intent rose continuously. 10%, 20%, 30%, peak small perfection 40%, it continued to rise. When the long, pitch-black lunar shadow saber was completely drawn, Xiaoqin unleashed his peak saber intent uncontrollably. The dazzling saber light dazzled and flabbergasted everyone. 60%. It really is a 60% comprehended saber intent. Although it has not reached perfect control, it really is a 60% comprehended saber intent. It completely surpasses Bai Qi's peak small perfection saber intent. He is only a step away from great perfection. With this, even Sima Lingxuan's sword intent will not be able to suppress his saber intent. The cultivators in the spectator stands discussed this. They had not expected Xiaoqin to have such a trump card. They were not the only ones shocked. The expressions of the 8 giants turned grave as well. This was especially so for Bai Qi. A look of shock flashed in his eyes. All along, Bai Qi had considered himself to be the top bladesman of the Tianwu continent's younger generation. However, the saber intent that Xiao Chen brought out completely shattered this halo. Xiao Chen's saber intent was 20% higher than Bai Qi's. Bai Qi clenched his right fist tightly and consoled himself. Saber intent is nothing. I have the four-season saber technique. No bladesman will be a match for me. Absolutely not. When Chu Chaoyan saw this scene, he smiled gently and said, 60% comprehended saber intent. Although it is not mature, it is sufficient to stand out from the crowd. The people of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and Bai, who were originally worried for Xiao Chun, all heaved a sigh of relief. Xiao. Xiao Chun had yet to fully grasp the 60% comprehended saber intent. Strands of extremely strong saber wind surged out uncontrollably in all directions. The fiendish demons and malicious spirits formed by quintessence were all chopped into nothingness. The fiendish demons and malicious spirits could not resist at all. The strength of the 60% comprehended saber intent far surpassed everyone's expectations. Wang Quan had only refined 1/10 of his quintessence. It was not enough. The situation of the battlefield instantly turned around. The wind blew, the clouds moved, and the clouds gathered with the wind. With the support of the 60% comprehended saber intent, Xiao Chun executed the starting stance of the lightning tribulation saber technique. It carried the momentum of the wind and clouds as it chopped down countless fiendish demons and malicious spirits, breaking through hell. When the saber light struck Wang Quan's protective quintessence, there was a dang sound. The quintessence shield trembled, but it did not shatter. Blood leaked out of Wang Quan's mouth. He laughed loudly and said, I have a quintessence shield. I am naturally undefeatable. Your 60% comprehended saber intent is not dense enough. You will not be able to break my quintessence shield. Ignorant? Do I need to break it? Xiao Chun said softly. The crystal chi whirlpool in his body spun rapidly. The surging essence gathered on the saber. With the support of the saber intent, the leaping electric light looked like a resplendent purple sun. Bang. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.